Hello! Hello, everyone! Hello! It is Thursday. I'm Trooper SJP. This is the Academic Foxhole. And over there is one of my best pals the laugh, the love, the Lindy.
'Tis I, Laugh Love Lindy. Lindy for short. And I'm excited. I'm excited to be here. Play some more of this game.
So, Lindy,
Yes.
I would like to ask you a question.
I would love to answer it.
I know, but I don't know if everybody knows. Where does your name come from?
Oh, Lindy Hop, basically, is the answer. Swing dancing.
See?
And I wanted something with nice iteration for like a Twitch channel, like online handle, because Lindy, I'm sure, was just taken as a base name. But you know it wasn't. Laugh Love Lindy. Memorable. Easily nicknameable. It checked all my boxes, basically.
Lindy likes to Lindy.
I do. We've Lindied together.
Have Lindied. I feel like I have better cardio now than I did then.
Same.
Gonna note it. So I was like, oh wow, hey Lindy, I need more cardio. This is.
And I was like, oh my gosh, Trooper, we're both dying. We
yeah,
both need better cardio.
We're dying, and it's not even. We're not even doing like sing. We're just like doing a chill.
Chill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That was bad. That was rough.
Yeah.
But we did it.
We did.
danced together.
and I had fun.
I had fun too.
However,
and we both had great cardio-esque realizations.
Yes, and that has led to Lindy
Working
going to
out.
the gym and me riding the bicycle, and has been good. We are right now playing Twice Reborn, which is a visual novel, a little indie visual novel by someone from the Limasoft forums who works with Renpai, and who said, would you do this? So I was like, sure. And so we're playing it. Ice Bunny says, how is getting eaten by the mosquitoes and sharing the bathroom with strangers? Oh, well, you don't really, I mean, sharing the bathroom with strangers. Ice Bunny, the thing you need to know about me, if you do not know this, is that when I was 18, I joined the army, and then I lived in barracks, and then I've been in college, where we have dorms, and now I teach, but I still live in a dorm. I have been sharing bathrooms my whole life, although now I don't have to share bathrooms because I have my own bathroom. But the point is, sharing bathrooms is like no big deal. I don't like mosquitoes though.
You were quite unhappy about the mosquitoes.
Well, the first day was inappropriate. Do you know what I mean? Like the first day was an inappropriate.
Someone didn't bring bug spray, is all I'm saying.
I didn't bring bug spray, but it was also that I happened to arrive at dusk when all the mosquitoes are like, hey, what's going on?
Yeah, that's what they do every dusk.
Yeah, but that's rude. that thing where I leave the stream up and take a nap worked out just how I hoped it would. So let me see, what else? There was some. Oh, Lindy and I did a thing before they start. I have to say this thing that Lindy and I did because I love it. Lindy and I did this thing. So Lindy's a graphic designer. I don't know if you know this, by trade, and also by brilliance. Lindy
By night,
graphic designer by night, which is a vampire game about graphic designers who make flyers and kill people for their blood. I don't know. It's unclear.
I'd play it.
Yeah. Oh, I bet it'd be like a boyfriend dungeon or boyfriend office supply or whatever.
Oh.
But it'd be like office supply by night. Anyway, Lindy is brilliant and smart, and we were a few nights ago. We were just looking at the different streams, the role-playing streams that were up that day, and there were some that had really cool graphic design, and some that did not. And Lindy's like,
and by some we mean most.
Most, yeah. And Lindy was like, this is how I'd fix this. She's like, right now there's no drop shadow there, so you cannot read the text right now. And like, she just was like saying all these smart things. And one of these days, Lindy will make a whole stream where she does that. I don't know how she's gonna do it.
Trooper is being polite. I was being, some might say harsh. But there was constructive criticism that they never heard.
Mr. Monkey says, if remember from Basic, they're sharing bathrooms, then there's the barracks bathroom. I'm just saying, like, group bathrooms are a thing. Krellin says, "Did you do this thing where you made fun of Jay-Z because that's what we were doing today?" And no, we didn't make fun of Jay-Z, but But look, Jay-Z, I just think, yeah, that's all. But not the red saber of Chalice. That one is only mine. I would like it back, please. Yes. So, we're playing Twice Reborn, and I'm gonna just go to the title screen because I feel like it's exciting.
Yes.
And so here's the thing: we're gonna start. We're gonna just jump back in there, but I had a couple of questions that I wanted to ask Lindy.
Yes.
So, for those of you who were not here last week, we are playing as Mark Delaware, who is an undergraduate, a senior, who's a TA for this ancient history professor who's probably a vampire or something. And he just got attacked by a vampire. They're vampires. And what we learned is that... Here, maybe I can get there. So, here, I have... This is the thing I want to know. Let's look. 2133, this one here. So, we haven't read that yet, but there is his status, right? Enforcer, House of Skulls, Humanity, Jody, Twins, Johnny, Ricky, and Bloodlust, right? These are his stats. We are currently guessing, Lindy and I, that Enforcer is his professor with bad boundaries.
Yeah. Yes.
Right? And House of Skulls are the people who just try to murder him. Right? Krill's like, what we learned is that Trooper and Lydia hate Mark and want to have a terrible life. We don't.
We're just... Look, there's a lot of dialogue in these types of games before you make any decisions, and we're just going based off of Mark's current decision-making up until this point of time. We're just playing Mark to be the markiest Mark that ever marked.
And maybe he'll change. Maybe he'll grow. I don't know.
Maybe he'll grow. I don't know.
But here's the question I want to ask you. We haven't gotten very far, so I don't know. But at this point in time, my feeling is, why would he ever side with the House of Skulls at this point? Like, what have we ever experienced about Mark that would lead him...
I don't know. Maybe his professor will show, like, turn over a new leaf or something.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Because all I'm saying is that right now, the House of Skulls people tried to kill him, and his professor saved him. So why would he want to, like, hang out with them? That's what I want to know.
It's a good question. Very valid.
What am I supposed to find out? So when last we were here, he was hanging out with his with people and got attacked and almost died, and his professor saved him by staking the vampire. And now we are going to come back into it.
Yep.
Missile Monkey says, I follow the Mal Reynolds philosophy of for when someone tries to kill you, you try and kill them right back.
It's a good philosophy.
Yeah. And certainly you're not like, you know what, I'm going to be your best friend. I just don't tend to... I mean, unless it were an accident, but I don't know.
That wasn't an accident, though.
It was not. It was like a...
Now, granted, maybe if we made different choices up till now, I don't know.
Maybe.
Like, this is where we're at now, though.
This is where we're at. This is where we're at. So, speaking of graphic design, I noticed that there's some kind of cool texture on the little curly Q.
Yeah.
Which makes it not seem flat, which is nice.
It is nice. There's some texture and beveling.
Lindy,
and a little bit of drop shadow.
Oh. May I admit something to you?
Yes.
So you know I don't have Photoshop, right?
Yes.
I have GIMP because it's free.
I know you have GIMP, yes.
I have never been able to make beveling look not weird.
It's tricky. It's easier when you're not using GIMP, but it is tricky.
I'm like, oh.
Just like using Photoshop CS4, beveling doesn't look as good as the current Photoshop edition of beveling. It's one of those things.
Yeah, when I do beveling, it doesn't look like beveling. It looks like something very strange has happened. I feel
There's also a lot of settings you gotta play with.
Yeah, that's what I'm feeling. And I just want you to know it because I wanted to admit to you my graphic design sins.
Not sins, just unacquired skills.
Fair. Hi, Barantor, Hawkeye, Ice Bunny, Miss Monkey, Krellin. Could you start reading first? Because I feel like I'd read
Yes. Waking with a gasp, Mark found himself staring at an unfamiliar ceiling. Adjusting his position, his weight shifted on a soft bed in a very feminine room.
Let's guess. Do we think it's
Jody?
Yeah.
Or the professor? I kind of want it to be the professor, but based on the surrounding, I bet it's Jody.
What if it's a professor's house, but he has one room dressed up all feminine in like honor of his lost love who died in like the 1200s and
That
he's
could
never
be.
gotten over.
Yep.
I'm just saying. Okay.
It looked like something he would see in a grandmother's house. Floral prints and pastels smothered the space. It smelled of clean things, fresh linen, overlaying a hint of mustiness. Okay, grandma's house, leaning professor, because he would definitely have old people wallpaper.
Yes. Um. Oh, you know what I think is pretty kind of interesting? Maybe how if you wanted to like get vintage wallpaper, that'd probably be very difficult to get a hold of.
Gosh, no, you have no idea. Like, it can be very difficult to get a hold of.
Yeah, and I bet and if vintage wallpaper is like vintage clothing, the stuff you can
Yes.
find is made of polyester, a very terrible color, and from the 70s.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of times. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. He smacked his lips. His mouth was dry, and a faint memory of a nightmare brushed the back of his mind. Looking for a glass of water, he sat up and a sharp pain stabbed his neck. He's thirsty.
For
For
blood.
blood!
Blood. Uh, Carl says old people wallpaper is all wallpapers. Young people don't have wallpaper.
There's been a resurgence of wallpaper
Oh, really?
fairly recently in the past like 5 years, yeah. Not like huge, but young people are wallpapering some things again.
Hmm. Mr. Monkey says, I think that couch is from the Martha Stewart Prison Pastels collection. Perhaps, I think so.
Yeah.
Uh, Also, I just want to say this is a little spoiler, but I'm not going to say anything so it's me vague. Um, I the artist came back to me and said that they are interested in the project. Timing might be difficult. I was like, the artist was like, when do you think? When would you need these like 32 pieces of art done? And I was like, well, it would be great if I could have it done by the end of the season of Kolos, so like early December. And the artist was like, ooh, that feels like a pretty heavy turnaround. I was like, well, whenever works best for you, you just let me know
Mm-hmm.
when will work best for you. So we may not be able to get the special project that I'm going to need to like get 32 pieces of art for done by the end of season 6, but it looks like it is coming. And uh, I still need like my players
I have it half done.
to get me their art briefs.
I have it half done.
Uh, and then I need to like get former players to give me their art briefs. I'm just saying that I'm pretty excited about. I don't think I can get it done before the end of season 6, but that's okay. I'm sure there'll be a season 7. At least I hope so. And then,
I hope so.
yeah, I
I'm
hope so.
down.
Right? And then, in the spring, and then we'll have our special secret gift for then. Uh, Go ahead.
Touching the tender spot, he felt for injury. His fingers met a rough bandage. Carefully lifting it, he felt 2 jagged punctures in his skin. Why is he peeling back his
I
bandage?
don't know.
It wasn't bleeding.
Also, here's the thing. It he's also not in front of a mirror, so he can't even see it. Do you know what I mean? Like, why? Don't do that, Mark.
Can he see it if he was in front of a mirror?
Well, it depends. You know what I mean? You
It
know what I mean?
depends. Is the mirror silver-backed?
Mm. I forwarded it.
Okay. Sorry, I was reading the Ice Bunny's comment about chalkboard walls. No, they're not really. Chalkboard walls aren't usually a thing anymore. The new thing is accent walls with wallpaper. That's the current thing. And I don't hate it. He shook. What happened to him? Did someone stab his neck with 2 tiny punctures? No.
Yes.
A haziness fogged his mind. Each time he considered if there had been anything strange last night, wisps of memory faded before it could take root.
Oh well, somebody did
Someone's
something.
done.
Hey, there's a thing. I don't think it's actually called wallpaper. It's probably called something else.
Yeah, but it's basically wallpaper.
No, but there's a thing that I saw. It's like maybe a foot tall, right? And it's like a
Mhm.
long, thin thing, and you put it on the top of your.
That's called you can't afford trim for the top of your walls to make it look fancy.
Right. Like especially if you have like a molding or whatever, right? And then you can like just like put the.
Crown molding. Yeah, that's what I meant. Crown molding.
Yeah, right. Like that
That's
thing.
called I can't afford crown molding.
Oh, but
Or you want to be fancy, but you can't afford crown molding. Like, I don't know.
yeah, but it's sort of like wallpaper. Right? It's like a little strip, though, right?
It's like a strip of wallpaper. It's
Yeah,
the same thing it's made out of. Yeah.
yeah, right. I remember that
It's
stuff.
just way tackier.
Oh, is that when is that? When was that last popular? By the way.
I don't know if and I guess it would have been popular at some point. The 80s, maybe
Hmm,
90s.
I don't know. Hmm. Anyway,
But
I do remember that. I remember that kind of
yeah.
like little, and it was always like. And the reason why I'm thinking about it is because in the background of this game, there are
Mm-hmm.
those like. I imagine that strip that's currently vertical.
Oh no, not
Yeah,
horizontal.
yeah. You take one of those
No.
strips, you make it horizontal, and you put
No.
it in the top part of your wall. And I think I've seen that
No.
before somewhere. I feel like I'm
No.
hurting you right now. I'm not saying I think it looks
Yes.
good. I'm saying I've seen it before.
No. He remembered walking around campus at night, but he couldn't remember where he went afterwards. He'd the impression he had the
Yeah,
impression, I'm going to say that.
yeah.
He met Professor Mickelson, but he wasn't sure. So that wording really threw me for a loop. As he stood, his knees buckled with exhaustion.
Mr. Moore's like, no, no, no. Horizontal stripes are a big no. But that's exactly what that weird thing on the top of your wall is. It's a big horizontal stripe around the top of your wall, right? Liddy, you're free
Ugh.
to change the subject.
Why was he so weak?
Stop,
Just
rewind.
what had.
Stop, rewind. Say it, say it. You know.
Why was he so weak?
So weak.
So weak.
Uncle Roger. If you don't know Uncle Roger, you should find Uncle Roger
You
on
should look
YouTube.
up Uncle Roger.
Uncle
He's
Roger's
pretty great.
amazing. Yeah, yeah.
Why was he so weak? Just what had he been up to last night when the professor found him? Mark trembled and hoped he was okay. Look, buddy, you need to be looking out for number one right now, which is not the professor. Or is it? His eyes adjusted to the dim house. A bright post-it note scribbled with Professor Mickelson's messy directions was on top of the end table. Come to the dining room when you wake, M.
No, Ice Buddy. Uncle Roger is a comedian who's on YouTube and does critiques of videos making Asian food, often ramen.
He also works in certain establishments sometimes. Like he
Yep.
worked at a boba tea shop
Yep.
and at like a certain like Asian restaurant.
Yeah, I think he started. I think one of the first things that somebody sent him a video of this like BBC how to make ramen video. That was. It wasn't ramen. It was what else? What was because there was noodles involved. What was it?
He's done a lot
Rice.
of them.
Yeah. Oh, it was
Fried
it
rice
fried
is a big
rice.
one.
Yeah, it was like how to make fried rice, and he was like, "What is this? Why? Why is this happening?" Because it was like, wash the rice after you cook it. It was just like there's a lot of interesting choices, and it was just like him basically taking the Mickey about this video, and it was very funny. He's very good.
Mm-hmm.
Axe says the 70s and 80s did awful things to interior design and home decor. It's true. I'm pretty sure it set all of civilization behind. Perhaps. Miss Milk says Uncle Roger's a joke. He pretty much admitted to Joshua Weissman the most of the cooking is actually Edith. Oh, he doesn't do most of the cooking. He is though, right? He just mostly just critiques the cooking.
I've seen him done a couple ones where he does do cooking, and it's not bad, but I mean you got to learn it for somebody. But yeah, he is a joke, but we're acknowledging the joke persona, just like people call me Laugh Love Lindy.
But you are.
So he had seen the professor. A quick image of shocking green hair came to his mind. Why was that? The more he tried to recall, the worse the blank spaces in his memory became.
Somebody used Dominate to have him forget.
He shuffled out of the room, unsure where to go. Buddy, there was directions lit on the sticky note. Take it with you. Turn left. Turn
left. Oh.
I was like, why is he outside? But no, it's a window. Okay. A window revealed that he was inside a canary yellow frame house with chipped paint. Oh. It's a cute house. Yeah. I'd live there. Yeah. Nice big windows.
Yeah. Oh, those windows are great. This is
two-car garage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at all those daffodils. And tulips.
I feel like a 2-car garage means that one part of that garage is where you have storage.
Or a coffin.
Or a coffin.
Because there's no windows. The front yard had a few potted flowers, which had received some attention. However, the rest of the sagging neighborhood outside the window looked as if it had been left behind the economic recovery. Like someone lived here in like the 50s when this house was probably built. Yeah. And then has maintained the house ever since, perhaps.
Perhaps. Miss was like, I'd live there just for that 2-car garage.
Ha! I pinged it with the 1950s.
You did. You did. You were correct. I will just note for the record that when I lived in San Francisco, we lived in these sort of flats they have in San Francisco, which are basically 3 floors. One apartment's the top floor, one apartment's the next floor, and the bottom floor is actually not an apartment. It's just the garage, right? So like the the apartments are on top of the garage, and the garage had those doors. I don't know if you remember, but the doors that you have to like pull them upwards, like they're just like, it was very old garages. Nothing is electronic, right? And they don't fold.
Mm-hmm.
They're just like that big slab of wood
Yep.
that you have to just pull upward. They feel not at all fancy, but I remember them, right? And like you'd have like the little rope on the little handle. You have to like pull it down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was good times. Go ahead. Sorry.
The owner had a unique taste. A retro 1950s couch sat in the entryway, surrounded by bold, flowery wallpaper. The quaint house looked like a place where a bunch of old ladies met to drink iced tea.
Are
This is
we?
not Jody's house. This is definitely the professor's
Yeah, this is
house.
definitely. I didn't know that vampires have a 1950s arsenic and old lace aesthetic.
I imagine that they like adapt every a few decades, and then they just stick with that decade until they adapt again.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe he's like the 50s was nice, and then the 80s and 90s atrocities happened, and he's like, I'm just gonna stay with the 50s for a while.
Yeah. Or maybe he doesn't get paid that much, and so he can't
Plus,
afford to
there's that
redecorate.
other vampire who would look like a 1950s greaser as well. So maybe it was like the 50s were like maybe like a small golden age for the vampires or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways,
You don't get mountains dominating the skyline in that many places. I happen to be one of the places that you do. Aww.
nice. Mark walked down a narrow hallway and paused before stepping into an elegant room decorated with jarring bright-colored abstract paintings. Where was he?
Abstract paintings could be very 1950s.
Harsh voices came from the next room.
Uh-oh.
Why did you bring him? You risk everyone's safety.
Hey, Lone Cool.
We need to move up the schedule. I've been seen. He's in danger now, and we don't have time to acclimate him.
Well, apparently there's a process.
Is there no other way?
Ooh. Pull not electric. Yeah, pull not electric. How do you roll under it when it closes all ninja style? My brothers did that until he got found out. Yeah, no, you just Axe says, I appreciate those old garage doors. Modern electric ones bind up way too easy, or if they get stuck halfway open, it takes forever to get them dislodged. If you can avoid the bloody things falling off the rails and onto your car. Krillin notes from the accent that this is Dracula's house. This is Dracula's taste. Things that people do not realize. Dracula loved the 1950s. This is a thing.
I love that headcanon. I want 1950s Dracula.
Oh. If you want 1980s Dracula, you have to see the film Love at First Bite with George Hamilton.
There's none. If we leave him as he is, he could tell someone, or the skulls will kill him. The code is already broken.
Yeah, but you've wiped his memory. Hawkeye, that was a very funny
He's
movie.
a child.
Well, he's technically like 21, 22.
Life isn't fair.
Legal.
You of all people should know that.
The voices lowered and Mark couldn't hear the rest. He shivered. Were they talking about him? Sorry, I was thinking about 1950s Dracula. I was distracted.
Okay. We have follow-up questions about 1950s Dracula. We can wonder about, like.
Maybe we'll see a guy. He pushed open the door to the next room and cleared his throat.
Excuse me?
Huh.
At the sound of his voice, everyone in the next room turned and stared at him. Their keen eyes studied him as they sat with nonchalant positions around a mahogany table.
I'm going to note that the people whose teeth we can see have little fangs.
Mm-hmm.
Also going to note that somebody is wearing a hat that I feel like is not subtle.
No. He didn't know what was more impressive, the room or those gathered there. They had a presence to them, the type that only leaders command. Because you'd know that, wouldn't you, Mark? Because you're not one of them.
Yeah. Does Lindy like funny hat Draculas?
Look, sometimes you gotta wear funny hats. I actually have a lot of hats that I wish I could wear more on stream. But I have different headphones now, so maybe I can wear some of my hats on stream more often.
Yeah. Actually, now I have questions for you. This is not a GM question, but like, is there a hat that you really wish you had a character for on stream?
Oh yes, at least one. I have a lot of vintage hats, and I would love to wear them all.
You just have to tell me which decades for no reason.
I'll send you pictures of my hats, and you can pick one, and I'll make a character for it.
Nice. Well, no, it's just like I'd have to make a campaign wherein you'd be prompted to make a character who would make that hat. You know what I mean? Like, for example, if I
Mhm.
know that you have a vintage hat from, say, for example, the 1970s, I'd be like, oh, I need to make a 1970s campaign.
I got a couple for Freda. I don't have 70s. Mine's mostly like 30s, 40s, 50s. That's my main era. But some of them can pass for 20s. They were all drinking a deep red wine. It seemed fitting in the formal dining room with the classical style paintings accenting each wall.
No, I thought they were
They were
abstract.
not in the formal dining room. That was
Oh,
the
I'm so sorry.
hallway.
I'm so sorry. So sorry.
They were paler than the academic hermits he knew who spent all their days indoors. They didn't shift their cold stares from him. Counting the professor, there were 4 of them. One was an elderly woman, another a young man, and a tall man in his 30s with black wavy hair.
I have questions, but go on.
The professor's face softened at seeing Mark.
I have more questions.
Professor, what's going on?
Well, you were attacked by a vampire, and now the Vampire Council's got to decide whether or not they should
Yes.
turn you into a vampire. Yeah, see, Kronos, wait. Is Mark trope deaf? I believe so. How many tropes of vampire does Mark need? Shout at him before he gets it. Also, he's got 2, look, if I had 2,
Yeah,
vampire
and
potion
also
bites-
I wouldn't have peeled the bandage up in the first place. I'd been like, oh, I'm injured. I should let that heal. But yeah, no, look. We're not making Mark make poor decisions. We are just making Mark decisions.
which are poor.
You were attacked last night.
I remember something about that. He bit me.
So, Mark, what do you think that was? You know? What do you think that was? Go on.
He ripped off his bandage, studying his wounds and the blooming bruise around them. An elderly woman at the opposite end of the room gasped.
You know, again, maybe I wouldn't rip off my bandage in front of mixed company.
The Vampire Council.
The Vampire
Yeah.
Council, yeah, I don't know. Ice Buddy says, the flapper dresses are pretty too, but today you cannot pay a dress made entirely in a flower powder out of pagettes. Buy a dress, probably.
See, I enjoy the 1920s fashion, but the 1920s fashion does not. I don't have the body type for 1920s fashion. I am solidly a 1940s, early 50s gal.
Francis, you guys are wrong about the bandage. If you wake up with a bandage you don't remember getting, you're going to check. So here's the thing: if I wake up with a bandage that I don't remember getting,
He remembered he was attacked.
I probably would not just rip open the bandage not in front of the bathroom mirror, because he's just like, I was like, no, and then he feels around. I was like, no, I would actually go to a mirror so I could see it, to see what's going on. I wouldn't just open it.
Or
And-
you poke, you go, wow, I'm injured.
Yeah.
Let me ask somebody what happened.
Yeah, because what if I don't know.
Because if you wake up in the hospital, you don't rip out all your tubes and rip off those bandages.
I have some questions.
Yeah.
Do you remember what happened next?
You saved me, I think.
I really think one of the first things I would do is try to remember what happened before I left the room. Do you know what I mean? I think I'd try to figure out
He
where.
tried a little bit, but the more he tried, the worse it
just like-
got.
just
And
like-
so he left. So then you should ask questions.
I killed him.
Oh wow, Professor Mickelson. That was a
Yeah.
you just
That was a bold statement.
that was a bold
I'm here
statement.
for it.
Professor Mickelson, I don't know if I would just say I killed him in public, but it's cool. It's cool. Krellin says, Lindy says she doesn't have the body for flapper fashion. Is that because she has a human body and not a wooden stick for a body?
Well, no, there was a lot of people who could pull off the 1920s fashion. It was just not meant for curvy people.
Yeah, it wasn't. People, yeah.
Because one of my sisters would look fabulous in 1920s fashion. I do not.
It also wasn't meant for men with the kind of Dorito physique that is more popular now.
Yes.
Men also needed to be kind of.
Because there's the different body shapes. You've
Yeah,
got the
yeah.
pear, you've got square, you've got rectangle, you've got round, you've got
Dorito.
hourglass, Dorito. It was meant for not the hourglass figure.
No. Or like.
Because you could be pear shaped and look fine.
Yeah. Also, it wasn't really made for muscular types. That wasn't really the
No.
vibe. You got that sort of the 40s, the kind of once the war started, right? You know what I mean? You had more of
But yeah.
Yeah. Axe says, do not ever fondle an open wound with unclean hands. If it wasn't infected before, then definitely would be now.
Yeah.
Mrs. Monkey says some people do that, Lindy. They end up getting a psych hold on them, but they do it. Wait, pulling out the
Some people.
yeah.
Not most people or all people. Mark is one of those people, apparently.
Yeah. Oh, and also, Person Mixon's just like, I just killed somebody. Cool.
Yeah.
It's cool. You just admit that. Admit to murder in public. Private.
Mark's eyes widened as he pushed the professor away. He started to breathe faster.
Also, I just feel like it's, I don't know, I just feel like ease him into it. Yes, I saved you from him is better than I killed him,
You better sit down.
I feel like Mark's just gonna be freaking out, even if whatever,
Yeah.
whatever happens. Professor Mickelson guided him to the head of the long dining room table. Murder? Even if it was self-defense, someone would notice.
It depends on what happens to vampire bodies after you kill them.
Yeah.
Like, do they dust? Do they not dust?
Oh God, what about the cops? They'll be looking for us, asking questions. What about the body?
Can I ask you a question, Lindy? And also, Chad?
Yeah.
So, Professor Mickelson, who clearly wants to recruit him for a vampire thing with his vampire buddies, they're worried about, like, how to acclimatize him to this properly, and they go with murder first. I kind of feel like, and tell me if you disagree, that instead of going with the murder, maybe going with the vampire first, considering you had a conversation about vampires earlier, might have been better. What do you think?
Yeah. And they did talk about, like, well, they did say we don't have time to ease him into it now.
I suppose.
So, they're just going for sheer shock value, I think, which is easy to do with Mark.
Yes. Carl says, look, I'm sure vampires know what they're doing. Death is part of vampirism. Probably best just to rip the bandage off. Maybe, right? Yeah.
His eyes darted back and forth across the room. No one responded with as much as a shrug. They remained unnaturally still, watching him, waiting for his next move.
There will be no body. Vampires typically turn to dust a few minutes after death. Newer ones, well, they're not in a state of decay yet. They need to be disposed of. I already took care of that.
So I guess you have to be like an 80-year-old vampire or something before you will just decay or something.
So it's interesting because there is
Like, define newer in an immortal timeline. Is newer like past your typical human age of expiration, or is it like, oh, if you're more than like 2 years old, you'll turn to dust?
My guess is that what happens is that your body fulfills the decaying process from the time you would have naturally died, right? So if you died last year, then your body fast forwards 1 year of decay, which probably leaves the body around. You know what I mean? But if you died the
probably
first
that makes
time
sense.
1,000 years ago, probably you're like dust, like,
Or even 100 years ago.
Yeah, right. That's my thought. Yeah. Carlin says the vampiric body reverts to the state it should be in right now. Hawkeye says, so middle-aged vampires just become freeze-dried? Yes.
His voice was oddly flat as he spoke and carefully studied Mark for a moment. Mickelson's remark apparently didn't register with his young TA.
Are you saying that you're some sort of vampire hunter?
Sure.
We can call it that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yes, in a way.
Yeah. By the way, I still am distracted. Look, I know this is a problem, right? But, like,
I know you're so distracted by it.
I'm distracted by his vest.
I know that's what you're distracted by. That's why I said.
Oh, you knew that I was.
Because you said it like 6 times last time we played.
But look at it.
Yes. Maybe he's just really long torsoed and he didn't feel like getting this one tailored.
He's a vampire. He has time to get his vest tailored.
You'd think. You would
Yes.
think.
Also,
apparently he's been vampire hunting.
Also, I don't know how I feel about that brown with a brown suit.
I feel like the colors work because they're in a similar family. But if it was any other shade of brown, it might not work.
Yeah. What are we gonna say?
Yeah, so we've got 2 options here.
Mm-hmm.
He seems to have a hard time believing it, but also he kind of like super reveres his professor.
He does. And we also know that he knows about vampires from literature. We know that about him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he did have that whole conversation about vampires.
Yeah, like maybe he just needs to be told things straight out.
Yeah. I also think that I think if it were a different person other than Mark, they probably wouldn't believe him. Like if it's somebody who's a bit more like, not a shut-in. Like, Mark is a
You
bit of a
know-
nerd, right? So I feel like Mark
Yes.
knows his vampire stuff and may not think about it, but when he does think about it, but he'd go into it. Yeah?
And I think I figured it out. I don't think Professor Mickelson's vest is too short. I think his pants are too low rise.
Mmm.
So you see what I mean?
Yes, because...
Like, look in comparison to Mark.
Yes. And it looks like Professor Mickelson's natural waist is around that first buttoned of his button of his vest,
Yes.
which makes those pants super low rise.
Super low rise, like early
Yeah.
2000s low rise suit pants.
Yeah,
Which I don't think was a thing. But that's
Yes.
I
I'm
figured
with
it
you.
out.
Yes.
His vest isn't too short. His pants are far too low rise.
Yes. Yes. Krell says it looks like someone that doesn't give a crap about what he puts on. Hawk's like, Mark is the bonk in the head type, it appears, perhaps with a sledgehammer. Kron's like clothes and presentation aren't part of his thoughts. He's too busy upholding vampire law to worry about making a good impression. Also he might have special powers to just make you like him. You know what I mean? I suppose we'll go with I believe you.
I think either
Yeah.
would work, honestly.
Yeah.
But
But I kind of feel like he really does seem to believe everything his professor tells him in certain ways.
yeah, and he's freaking out, but he's not been like mega freaking out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And maybe he's the kind of person that if he freaks out when he gets a plausible explanation, which is that their vampires is like, okay, yes. You know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe you.
I feel like if he were cooler, and by
Like
that-
if he had ran out of the room or something. Like
Yeah.
if he had been like more panicked.
yeah, or if he were like
initially.
if he were like a football jock, I could see the football jock being like, "You're kidding, right?" You know what I mean? Like it's like there's like a
Yeah,
certain
but he's
attitude.
known about his professor's like obsession with vampires for a
Yeah.
while.
Like I feel like it'll just like click for him, right?
Yeah. Like we said, he was trope deaf. Maybe this was like click,
Yeah.
boom. Oh, we get the flashback. Mark thought about the night before. The fanged, bloody smile. His bruises, the pain. His confusion as he was lifted off the ground and later thrown down
Yeah.
like a worthless rag.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of feel like after what he experienced, you know what I mean? He'd go for it.
His throat suddenly dried and constricted as he realized that, yes, he was attacked by a vampire. An actual creature tried to kill him. Vampires were out there in the world.
Yeah.
No one had a clue. The myths carefully hid the truth. That vampires were more than scary bedtime stories or the romanticized creatures googly-eyed girls gushed over. I don't know. You saw how those girls had crushes on the professor. I think maybe you're just jealous.
Yeah. I think he's a little bit jelly. That's all.
Little jelly. A chill went through his body.
Hey, Lindy.
Hey.
How would you react if you were a TA, let's say, or
Mhm.
whatever, and you were attacked by a vampire or whatever,
Yeah.
and your professor saved you?
I knew it.
Would you be freaked out if vampires were real?
I knew it.
I don't know how I feel. If
I'd be like,
vampires
"Where's
were-
Dracula?"
Where's Dracula go? Because I kind of feel like we have
Because he needed a new bride.
we have so much vampire media. I don't know if I would be
Yes.
freaked out.
Yeah.
You know?
I'd be like, "But what kind of vampire, though?"
Yeah, that's what I would. I think I'd want to know.
Also,
yeah.
does Dracula taking bride applications? Is that he?
But you'd have to find out what
Hello?
kind of vampire. Because if Dracula is like not a good vampire type, then you know, right? I have.
I
to
don't know. If I've been bitten, I'm already turned. I might just go with it.
go with
You
it.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Possible. I suppose it depends. Like if vampires are like in the original Buffy, but the first season of Buffy Vampire Slayer, where they actually aren't even
Mhm.
you anymore, they're just a demon who's inhabiting your body. That might be different than if they're still you, but just I don't know, undead. I'd have questions. I
Yeah.
also have questions about the name game. Come on, everybody. I said, now let's play a game. I bet you I can make a rhyme out of anybody's name. The first letter of the name, I treat it like it wasn't there. And then a B or an F, more an M will appear. And then I say bo at a B, then I say the name, then banana, fana, info. Then I say the name again with an F, very plain. Then a fee, fi, and a mo. Then I say the name again with an M this time, and there isn't any name that I can't rhyme. I'm a geek, but funny geek, banana fana for funny geek, fee fi, my money geek. I'm a geek. The name game. Thank you for that resub, on a geek. It has been 8 months of you hanging out here subbed, and that is so excellent. And we're hanging out with Mark, who's just learning that vampires exist, and seems to be like, handling it more or less okay, I suppose. I mean, we'll see. Carl says, I think Lindy would only be freaked out if vampires were real, but she wasn't allowed to make out with them. That might be true.
That'd be sad.
Ice Bunny says, depends on if I like the professor and how good he is to me into all the programs in the uni. If he's going to get you into all the programs in the uni, because as a vampire, I can study all the things on the BA level. That's true. I would just have some questions with the logistics of how it works to be a vampire, and then I would be like, that's all.
Yeah.
I would want that knowledge. Oh, hello. Conversation history. That's nice. Here. Yeah. Okay. There you go.
And you killed this guy. Staked him.
Hey, legally, would killing a vampire count as murder if they're already dead?
I think that's for the Vampire Council to decide. The enforcers.
No, I meant human law.
Well, if you don't, there's no body, no crime, trooper.
Fair. But I was just
no
wondering,
body,
like,
no crime.
Like, as a legal question.
No body, no crime.
Yes. And I'd do so again.
So, that's why I'm here, and not at the hospital.
Yeah. Don't worry, we had enough time to learn medical aid.
Yes.
And also, we know better about vampire bites.
Right? Audigus thinks it would not be murder because it's not dead, it's undead.
That's also true, but then you'd have to tell all the police about vampires, and that would not go well. You'd have to reveal your secret. So basically, I'm going to go with no body, no crime.
Isn't that like a Bob Marley song? No body, no crime. No, it's like...
You see? Mark is an intelligent young man. This was the safest place I could think of to bring you.
Trying to convince his colleagues that Mark's smart. Good luck, Professor Mickelson. Mark tried to clear his throat before speaking again.
May I have some water?
Oh, honey, Mark, sweetie, you don't drink water anymore. Or maybe you can.
You think? Oh.
Mickelson poured a glass from the water decanter on the table.
Bonnie Geek says, we don't have to protect the masquerade here, Lindy.
He greedily drank as soon as the cool wetness touched his lips.
I'm a little concerned about him now throwing up all the water.
Professor, who are these people? How are they okay about this?
Crown says it Mark's only done
because we're all vampires.
because we made him the way, and that is not true. He
Not
made a
true.
Lot, he made a lot of
Look,
these choices
we're not
himself.
making him say any of these things. We just make an occasional decision, and then he dumbs the rest. Like, it's not our fault.
And really, we only make decisions based on what he's already told us.
Yes.
This is the Society of the Arts.
Is it?
Unfortunately, you were put in
Okay,
a situation
look at that
where you
guy's
had
hat.
to meet
Of
them
course it
earlier
is.
than we expected. Everyone,
Like a
this is
day
Mark
earlier.
Delaware,
Actually, it's the
my
next night,
apprentice
so it's pretty much on
and
time.
protege.
It's true.
How do you do, Mark? I'm the Society's president, Don Belmonte.
Like his hat.
Please, relax. You are safe here. Now would be a good time to meet everyone, I think, since we're all here. Unless you'd prefer to rest.
They were the they were the people he'd interview with Friday. Mark sat a bit straighter. This was all strange, but nothing would be normal again after meeting a vampire. He looked around the table.
Vampires. Have you not picked up, Mark? These are all vampires.
No, you held up one trope sign. You needed see, look, y'all, we are not the one who Mark's the one who thinks there's only one, and that Professor Mickelson killed him.
Yeah, this is my boyfriend from Dream Daddy, as a matter of fact. It is true. And the one with the hat is an art historian, says Ice Buddy. Missile Monk says, oh, so this is my job interview? 1 second, I need to use the facilities, run away. Go ahead.
They didn't seem disappointed that he lost against his fanged attacker. Why would that?
you're immortal. It's
Why would you be? No, Mark. Why would they be disappointed? See, Mark has issues.
yeah.
If this group was familiar with vampires, maybe he could inquire them for more information.
Probably.
I think you get a lot of
Fine.
information, Mark.
Just shook up, that's all.
All shook up.
Oh.
Very understandable with what you experienced.
Oh.
They're like, oh, look at this baby.
Yeah. Also, Don Belmonte has got his jacket flung over his shoulder like a cool
Mhm.
guy.
Yeah.
We've heard a lot about you. I'm Charlie Versier.
Again, all of y'all have been around for way too long.
The young adult, Charlie, wore a fedora hat, canvas shoes, and could have easily passed as a fellow graduate from St. George, fellow graduate student from St. George's. Belmonte looked a bit older. A European accent lit his words.
They're all vampires.
Yes.
I suppose
yes,
that
they
one's a
are.
musician.
I hear you practice judo, speak Francais and several other languages.
And you are supposedly from New Orleans.
I understand that this is a society for the arts, that you support them and that you also trade art. From what Professor Mickelson told me, you're looking for a linguist.
They're looking for another vampire. I don't... Mark.
To join the
I practiced
artsy
judo for 6
fartsy
years.
hunter council.
I also went abroad for a few semesters to focus on studying languages. I've also been learning Greek and Russian. Professor Mickelson was my classical history teacher.
What do you think this job interview is for, Mark? It's fine.
It's for vampire
Magnifique.
hunters.
Steve, I think you made an excellent choice. I like this one. Not that you need my approval. Mark, I think we'll be good friends. It's nice to have a younger face in this crowd, don't you think?
So it's Steve Mickelson.
Steve Mickelson.
Based on Steve's
Charlie,
age,
What do you do in this society?
I'm gonna guess that it's actually short for like Stephen or Stefan.
Yes, or like Stephanopoulos or something. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
it's gotta be... Yeah.
The society maintains and encourages the best arts of the era. I'm a musician.
That's my name is
I've
Brett.
been so for over 300 years.
Yep.
I find those who grow that art.
I worry about this accent.
So he's 300 years old.
Yeah.
So he's a 1700s musician,
Yes.
18th century musician. So he was around bopping around during the Regency.
Yes, he was. And so if we're talking 1700s, he's probably doing like, some Mozart, right? Some Vivaldi,
Mhm.
all of that, right? He's a Toreador.
Beethoven.
Yeah. Problem's like, I feel like it's a Stefan with a P. If it's true. It's like, you gotta know multiple languages, you have to jump countries as a vampire. That's true, actually.
Yep.
Unless you're just a noble. Although that's must be kind of weird to be like a vampire who might
Have to
been-
move all the time.
Yeah. But
You
also,
have to get really good at faking documents too.
I bet vampires are very good forgers. Or just
Mhm.
a witch. Yeah, if 1700s, if he's American, he's an escaped slave. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But it depends. If he was from New Orleans, because they didn't actually, he could have been Creole of color and never have been enslaved in the first place.
That is true.
Possible.
Belmonte looks for painters. Others who aren't here look for writers, sculptors, architects, fashion designers, etc. Mrs. Violet manages our books.
Guess that's the old lady.
Yes.
They're like, we just need the best book person ever. You're great with the books, old woman. You want to be a vampire?
I do wonder what Steve looks for.
Mark thought he probably didn't hear Charlie right. 300 years?
He's a vampire.
Mark,
Mark.
we're all vampires. Mickelson lowered his face and smacked his right palm against his forehead. The professor made an exasperated noise.
Yeah.
Yes, I've been playing the viola, the bass, and a stringed instrument, really. They've always been my favorite, but especially the piano. You meet the most women when you play a piano.
Oh, so he's a ladies' man.
My first instrument was a harpsichord. While we visited Europe, my father, a Dahomey prince, insisted that I should play it like Mozart.
Okay, so he's from Dahomey. He knew Mozart, apparently.
Of course, I was never able to come close to that young child. He always impressed the Austrian courts. Then, in the 20th century, I came to America and played jazz. I love jazz.
have a lot of questions about all that. That's all. I just have a lot of questions about that. When you ask the 6-year-old woman if she wants to be a vampire, you get the Maggie rant from The Last Unicorn. Where have you been? Earlier. O said, not seen the history of vampires Swedish. Said, not seen. Then the history of vampires Swedish. I thought the girls always went for the guitarists or drummers. I think they go for guitarists? Lead singers with floppy hair. I just thought of something. Charlie sounds like Johnny Blams. Oh, yeah. Oh, good old Johnny.
I lived in New Orleans for many decades and picked up the accent when I learned English.
Did you really pick up the accent, though?
Close enough.
Close enough. Carla notes that Dahomey is modern-day Niger, that bit that sticks down to touch the coast. And it was a really big kingdom that had a lot of really important diplomatic ties back in the day. No, girls went for drummers. You do not know what Fluffy hides under the hat. It's true. Oh, I just have to go here. There we go.
There he goes again, bragging without thinking.
She's got teeth. Fangs.
Steve is our local enforcer. It is good that he chose a successor, although, as he said, the timing could have been better.
Why does he need a successor?
Mark was taken aback that he used Professor Mickelson's first name. They must have been good friends.
Or just adults, Mark?
Yeah.
Enforcer. Wait, Professor Mickelson is like a vigilante?
Sure. A vampire versus vampire vigilante. Everyone around the table laughed, except for the elderly woman, who frowned.
Or good friends. Also, I kind of don't think it counts as vigilantism if there's no legal system that deals with vampire problems, right?
He's our local hero.
And everyone here already knows about vampires.
Because everybody here is a vampire, Mark.
It made sense. Sorry. It made sense. Professor Mickelson also shared that they participated in the art trade, and much of the group's funding came from it. Maybe they ran into a few creatures while they were making a deal, or when they found a rare piece. Or maybe they have original pieces from back in the day, and that's why they stay wealthy. Is if you lived in the Roman times and then you sold that art in the Renaissance, you would have made buku bucks. And then if you take that Renaissance piece you traded and you sell that in the Regency era,
I also imagine you probably need an organization to let you basically launder. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're probably gonna have to find ways to
which is the Society of the Arts.
Yeah. This is what I'm saying. But also, you know what else I'm saying? The name game. Come on, everybody. I say now let's play a game. I bet you I can make a rhyme out of anybody's name. The first letter of the name, I treat it like it wasn't there. And then a B or an F, or an M will appear. And then I say boo out of B, then I say the name, then banana, fanner, and foe. Then I say the name again with an F, very plain, then a fee, fi, and a mo. Then I say the name again with an M this time, and there isn't any name that I can't rhyme. Skibanek, 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 bobebenek, banana, fanna, bobebenek, fee, fi, momebenek. Scabenek, the name game. Thank you, Scabenek. 5 years. Scabenek, it can't have been 5 years, because that would mean that I've been streaming for 5 years, which would make me 5 years older than I was when I started streaming, which was just yesterday.
What was it?
I'm just.
I didn't know the Good Society game was your first streamed game. Wow, I feel like I've known you longer than a day.
Maybe. I can't be a day over 20, because I'm a vampire.
Look, I'm just saying, we started streaming at about the same time.
Yeah, I know. But, so it was like last week.
No. And also, the affiliate system wasn't out when both of us started streaming.
It's true,
I'd like to
actually.
remind you of that as well.
Yeah, I do remember that. I also remember that when it started, people lost their mind. They're like, oh my, well, not actually, that's not true. The 0.5% of the streamers who were partners lost their mind. They're like, that's not fair that other people get to have emotes too. It's like, just relax. Just relax.
Yeah.
And Onigeek says that they already knew that I was a vampire. You know? And Skabadak makes for a way better name game than his old screen name. That's true, but Skabadak is a good one to name game, is all I'm saying. You were saying?
Yes, yes. His imagination was running away.
Not far enough.
Yeah, not far. More like it's running in the right direction. You're not quite there yet.
More like strolling. It's a bit fast.
Fast walking.
Yeah, fast walking. Mm-hmm.
The frail elderly woman, dressed in a tailored short skirt suit, looks kind of Edwardian-esque, inspired. Silver hair tightly wrapped in a bun, wore a tight-lipped expression. She didn't miss a thing. Straightening in her chair, she clipped her words.
She has no time for you.
Professor Mickelson, did you not properly tell your protege about the society?
No, because I imagine you're not allowed to.
Shocked expressions flickered around the table.
Also, Aximilian notes, fast walking, but in a serpentine fashion. Serpentine. Skybadak's like government name on the Twitch.
Mrs. Violet, I wanted to explain everything to him while we're together.
Sounds like an excuse. Mickelson, which he said with a light smile, apparently to try and appease the old woman. Belmonte, the society's president, narrowed his gaze.
I am normally not one to assert opinions, but don't you think it is not only dangerous, but also irresponsible to introduce him here and not mentally prepare him? The code has already been broken with this one.
She's not wearing pants, Ice Bunny. She's wearing a skirt suit. Suit skirt.
Yep.
Yep.
Mark was quickly annoyed. For a woman that didn't normally assert opinions, Mrs. Violet easily made her own conclusions. Mickelson noticed Mark's frustration and motioned him to relax. Mark, if you were a little faster on the uptake, this conversation wouldn't be happening right now. It's not. Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna put it this way: the minute
she's not being abnormally assertive, it's not her attitude, Mark. It's your slow self.
Yeah. Missile Monkey says the society seems to be like Fight Club. Rule 1, you do not talk about the society. Rule 2, you do not talk about the society. But also, I feel like if he'd been more chill and less deer in the headlights about it, or at least pretend to be more chill, again, as Lindy said, this conversation
pretend to have some type of idea of what's going on.
Yeah. Okay, would she then not have to wear a structured under her skirt to make it poof a bit? Well, but see, she's all modern and sleek. I feel like she's been influenced by the 80s.
Oh, possibly. The 80s didn't do much of the steam down the front, though.
No, that's true. They didn't.
Which is why I'm saying, like, Edwardian inspired, but she, like, modernized it up a bit.
Yeah.
Mark realized that he had been anxiously sitting on the edge of his high-backed chair.
Although she's got some shoulder pads in that jacket.
Well, of course she
Even
does.
if any of us disagree, it isn't our business anyway. It's Major Steve's decision, not yours.
I have questions.
As she laid her hand over Belmonte's wrist, Mrs. Violet softly asked,
"Do you approve of the professor's choice?"
The society president glanced at Mrs. Violet with warm eyes. Are they together? Are they a thing? He looked at her, hand on his, and gave her a gentle smile while rubbing his fingers over the back of her hand.
I do. Whatever our friend feels is best. He's lost his family. Having a new skilled apprentice might make things easier for Steve.
Well, this sounds like kind of a private conversation we're having in front of Mark. Like, I mean...
What happened to Steve's family?
That's what I want to know. But also, I just feel like Lindy shows up and has no idea what's going on, and I was like, yeah, I mean, after, her professor has lost his entire family, this very, and I just feel like that's, oversharing about Steve's business in front of Mark. That's all I'm saying.
Maybe they think Mark won't pick up on it.
Oh, that's probably true. Mark will be like, what? Steve happened to Steve's family. Oh, okay.
That could be.
So, for the record, the one problem I'm having right now, and it's happening inside my mind, I just decided to share what's happening outside my mind to you all, is Steve. There's a website called Audio Atrocities, which collects really, really bad voiceovers from video games.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Yeah, it does. And one of them is from, I can't remember what it was called, but it was one of the worst ones ever. And they've got all the bad guys, and one of them is Chairman Steve. And there's Colonel Evil and da-da-da, and Chairman Steve. And one of the voiceovers is like, don't be so stingy, Steve. And it's supposed to be stingy, but the person doesn't pronounce it right. And just like, the evil Chairman Steve. And I just keep hearing Steve in my head. Yeah.
You never told me you'd lost your family.
Axe is saying,
Oh, he did pick up on it.
yeah. Like, wait, are they offering Mark up like a pet to make up for their associate losing their whole family? Does Mark have a say? I don't think vampires...
Mark may have had a say, but then he was attacked by the skulls.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
now Mark doesn't have much of a say. No.
Yeah, and also I sort of feel like vampires may not care about consent as much. Yeah. That's all.
Like maybe a little, but not like a lot.
Yeah.
It was a long time ago. It was inevitable. I'll tell you about that someday.
I just realized I want some pie. Sorry, I was like, what would be really delicious right now? Peach pie.
Steve, I'm glad to hear you found such a promising young man as your apprentice. It'll be good to have a more personal element in art negotiations. A good linguist is hard to come by.
So they really do art negotiations. This is probably like money laundering.
Again, this is how you accumulate, you save old shit from your original timepiece and era, and once you grow bored of it after a few centuries, then you sell it for a lot of money.
Yeah.
And that's how you maintain your wealth and status. And don't have to work.
Missile Monkey says, Mark will do what he's told. They have two options. Join them or show up at the 5 o'clock news, Mark. And this is true. Like when vampires are like, if anybody knows about us, they have to die. By the way, would you like to join us? The answer is going to be yes, because otherwise they'll just kill you.
I don't know, Mark could say no.
Axe says, peach pie does sound good. You going to bring it up for the whole class, Trooper? I don't even have peach pie.
Yes, computers can translate, but in the future, it won't replace the human need to interact. His judo will aid him when other types of negotiations will get a little sticky. I assume you plan to teach him your special talents as well, Enforcer.
Other Doc! Welcome in, Other Doc. We're playing the vampire game, and Mark is being a Mark real hard right now.
Mark's Delawareing real hard.
Oh, he's Delawareing. What were you playing, Other Doc? What were you playing?
Your professor is the enforcer of the vampire code. Our mask hides our secret. Only willing donors know our truth. Keep humanity alive, lest the enforcer declares judgment. All vampires follow this rule.
I feel like that's not true, right? It does not feel like all vampires follow that rule, because some of them clearly
Which is
don't.
when they get enforced. Bruh.
Missile Monkey said I'd be mad about what's in his fridge, because it might be a peach pie, and I want it. You're playing Dragonsphere, an adventure game from 1984. Oh, is it text or visuals? Is it like one of those old text games, like Infocom? All members except the Society of Skulls. Yeah, I just feel like there's a big old...
Well, that's why they were keeping an eye on the Society of Skulls.
Yeah, that's what they should.
A shiver went through Mark. They were serious.
We want you to consider joining us. If the only reason you will join us is because you're desperate to find work, there are other ways we can help. Think about your decision.
So do you think they'll murder him if he doesn't join?
Maybe. I give it a coin toss at this point.
Yeah. It says there are other ways we can help. But, I kind of feel like once you've, broken the code, because Mrs. Violet's like, we've broken the code with this one's already broken the code. It's a little bit of a red flag there, that's all.
He might have to become a willing donor.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Scabby's like, wait, are these members concerned with consent? I'm not certain. Other Doc says...
A little bit?
A little bit, maybe? It's one of those graphic ventures where you move a person around kind of like a LucasArts Sierra thing. Oh, yeah.
Being in a society is a lifelong commitment. Like a fraternity, our bonds last forever. Nicholson, would you please explain this to me?
You could have picked a better example than a fraternity, but okay.
Yeah, well, he didn't want to go to that sorority party. Hello, Grinny. Grinny's like, I would suggest not joining anything with vampires.
I don't suggest that.
So Missile Monkey says, which means the Society of Skulls are just anarchs or Sabbat and must be dealt with. This is true. Hawkeye says, modern woodmen or some sort of these other fraternal corporations. Mm-hmm. Kron's like, probably anarchs, Missile Monkey. Since the UI makes me think you could end up with them instead of Mickelson. Yeah. How about werewolves? Are werewolves okay?
We don't know if they're
The
real yet.
Society of the Arts is not just an organization to promote culture.
Obviously.
We're a society of vampires.
Obviously.
What some would call
But Mark hasn't
the
figured it out
undead.
yet.
Oh.
But don't let that word fool you. We're very much alive.
What do you mean by that, though?
Please explain, Professor Mickelson. Mark chuckled nervously. Sometimes Mickelson would tell him a joke with a straight face. He had to be joking. Vampires, that's crazy. And Professor Mickelson is some sort of top cop? Mark felt the blood drain from his face.
Mark?
Mark.
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 Mark. Mark.
Marky Mark.
There's more than just... Why do you think... Okay, when the guy's like, I've been around for 300 years, what do you think
He's
he
like,
meant?
that had to be a typo that he said out loud. No, Mark, it wasn't.
Yes. Pretty...
He literally said stuff about like, oh, Mozart was such a show up, in
Yeah.
Austria.
Yeah. So, yeah. And then Scapinak's like, Greedy, why though? You could live long enough to have a novel about the horrors of eternal life be written about you. It's fair. Corn's like, Grinny, if Lindy doesn't join the vampires, Lindy doesn't get to make out with vampires. And other doc notes that vampires are very friendly. They just want to say hi, and you should let them in. You should just invite them in. That's all. Let's see. Oh.
He thought back to the moments he enjoyed speaking with Professor Mickelson about vampires and their place in historical tales. He had never minded those talks. In fact, he loved them.
Mm-hmm.
If vampires were real, Mark thought they'd make the world interesting. He'd even shared that with the professor. Maybe he should have just kept his mouth shut.
Too late, Mark. You already said
Too
it.
late. Oh, what a tangled web we weave.
And as a matter of fact, Mark, you said that you found vampires interesting more than once.
More than once. But those conversations and stories were supposed to be hypothetical. Did the professor ever start this off with hypothetically speaking, or did you just make assumptions, Mark?
And now, clearly, that's not hypothetical. So, right? Also, here's the thing. Even if it is a hypothetical, I try to think about how it would react if it were real. I'm not like, well, if vampires, hypothetically, if there were vampires, they'd be cool. Like, wait, there are vampires? Not cool. Like, I try to make, Yeah, didn't he say that because you made him say it? No, he started it. He started the whole thing. He was all interested in, eternal life and all that business.
He really marked this up. Yeah.
I just feel like Mark is just like so one step away from being a vampire even before he knew about vampires. I feel like he was just born to be a vampire.
Waiting for the siren call. Yeah.
Absolutely.
As he was lost in thought, Mark snapped back to the present when he noticed the others were staring at him, waiting for a response. That seems like Mark's thing to do as well. Mark's collar felt snug around his throat and he pulled at it. How is it that snug, Mark? You've got some buttons undone. After all, vampires are a myth. I mean, technically, the next button you have done's all the way down here, so why is it tied around your neck? That's all I'm saying.
You're scaring me. You're kidding, right, Professor? I mean, if you're all vampires, where are your fangs?
I couldn't see them.
I could see them. Yeah, Mark, maybe you need glasses. He gulped and realized he'd ask a room full of vampires to show him their teeth. Steve Mickelson frowned and looked offended.
Yeah. Don't be rude, Mark.
If I'd suddenly told you I was a vampire and flashed a fanged smile, you'd run.
Oh, hey, it's in their character art, Mark, says Krellin. By the way, somebody linked, I should probably let Lindy know about this. Somebody linked these teeth you can buy, fake vampire teeth, that actually...
Oh, drop down?
Mm-hmm. So it looks like you
Nice.
don't have vampire teeth, and then they drop down, so then it looks like you
That's
do.
cool.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
cool.
Yeah. So it's like a...
He was right. Mark knew that if he'd seen a toothy grin, he would have dashed outside as fast as an all-star quarterback. Let's not over-exaggerate, Mark.
Yeah.
Pushing back his chair, Mark was ready to do just that.
You know what's interesting about Mark, it seems to me? That
He's flaky,
Yes.
but only in very specific weird ways.
Yeah, he also seems to be weirdly overconfident, but then also insecure. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's this kind of like a...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like he's got this like...
The perfect target for
Yeah.
vampirism.
Yeah. Because he didn't ask out Jodie until like the second semester of his senior year after falling in love with her in his first year. So like these certain kind of insecurities he has, but then he's also like, I know judo. Like he's very interesting and like a kind of like a
Yeah.
yeah, he seems to think big thoughts, but then yeah. He's not exaggerating, Lindy. Running isn't what quarterbacks do. Like they can run, but they aren't the best runners on the team. That's fair, actually, Krella. That's fair. I suppose they.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about football, so.
So I think what happens with quarterbacks is they get the ball and they drop back a little bit to throw it, and then people hit them, and then they get knocked over.
Oh, okay. Well, that doesn't sound like a good example then, Mark.
Or if they're good quarterbacks, they can get okay, look, I'm not a football person, but my understanding is you can only tackle people if they have the ball, I think. So
I have
when
no
the
idea.
quarterback
And
has
I really
the ball,
don't care.
then people just pile on him. So his job is to try to throw the ball to somebody else before the people can tackle him. And I don't think you're allowed to tackle him if he doesn't have the ball, right? That's
Whatever.
my
Leave
understanding.
sports ball to the sports people.
I grew up with the baseball, not the football. But
I grew up also with more baseball than any other thing, and I really don't care about any of it. I'd rather play with dice.
you want to play football with dice? I feel that'd be hard, right? Because
if there's a football tabletop RPG in which I don't have to know the actual rules of football, I might play it. Because it's a tabletop RPG then, and it probably wouldn't use real football rules.
Quarterbacks are used to running for their life out in the field. Yeah, so I don't think you're allowed to hit them. Oh, hey, there is a boxing game. Would you be RPG?
There's also a wrestling game.
Yeah. Would you be interested?
Possibly. I don't know.
Wait, I think the people who do Good Society. Am I wrong about this? I believe the people who did Good Society have come out with a sports anime game.
Oh.
Like a sports anime one.
Mm-hmm.
I think they have. I think it was them. When I think about it.
He glanced behind him and prepared to sprint in case the society really had invited him over as dinner. Mark, they wanted to offer you a job. How have you simultaneously listened to this but also listened to nothing? He could see the headlines. College student vanishes after dinner party.
They're not going to know.
Mark,
you.
No one knows you're here.
Yeah, Mark.
What headlines? No body, no crime.
No body, no crime. Okay. I feel like there's really only one smart answer here.
Stay with the vampires.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes? Because if he runs, they're going to kill him. What makes him think he can outrun vampires? He can't do that.
He can't.
No. Mark thinks vampires should never live near humans. That makes no sense with everything we've known about Mark so far.
No, it doesn't. Because he's like, it'd be so interesting. It'd make life interesting if vampires were real. Mark.
Right, he said that multiple times. Plus, also, I feel like that's not the kind of even if, like, let's say that he did have those thoughts, which we know he doesn't because he's already talked about how interested he is in vampires.
And how immortality would be cool.
Yeah, right? I just don't think that's the kind of thought that runs through your mind at this moment. You know? That's all. And Axe is like, also, option number 3, species this much? Mark?
I know.
Yes, so let's just stay with the vampires.
We're not the first vampires you've met.
Well, is that true? I feel like you've known Professor Mickelson longer than some of those dorm friends you've had.
That's fair, actually. Corinne's like, you should run so you can end the stream early, even though you have all night to stream because there's no CR. But Lindy's got to hang out with her husband after our stream.
I do.
Like Lindy said, if I don't have to actually understand the sport, I'd play it.
Yeah.
No, this can't be real.
Mark. So here's the thing. I'm going to just say this, and this is just me. Right?
Like, he wants to believe so bad, but he's also so firmly in denial.
Also, I'm the kind of person where, let's say I had that thought, no, this can't be real, I wouldn't say it out loud.
No, not in a room full of vampires. I'm not dumb.
Right. Like, if I really
would say all that when I'm by myself later.
Yes. If I believed that they were not actually vampires, but like psycho killers who believed they were vampires, I wouldn't say that out loud. I just wouldn't say that out loud. I'd be like, oh yeah, totally you're vampires. And I'd play along. And then until I got out of there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and then you can move to Switzerland or whatever.
Right.
But they have all the time in the world to find you, so.
Because they are actual vampires, is what I'm going to say. That is all I'm saying. Mork. Wait, Lydia has a life outside of streaming? No, not really. I was going to say, oh, hi, Mark, now. No real basketball was fun till the teacher showed up. Boss, we got a name. Give me a second.
A sympathetic smile crossed Professor Mickelson's face.
Did your mind try to rationalize it as a bad dream?
Oh, your little human brain.
I'm sorry. You've seen the undead and are targeted by a very nasty vampire group called the House of Skulls.
Oh.
You must make a choice. Live as a donor, become one of us,
Oh,
or die.
those are the 3 choices we chose
It is
earlier.
our code.
Yes.
I'm hoping you'll choose to be one of us.
Look at that. We did choose properly.
We said it'll be join us,
Yep.
die, or become a donor.
Right.
And look, that we were right.
We were right. Also, I need to sing the name game right now because Rissa, who's one of our mods, has just resubbed. But I just feel like this is not a very hard choice. I don't know.
Join the vampires.
Right?
Join them!
And look, not because
And
I'm like...
also,
yeah.
then you have a fighting chance against those skull boys rather than just I guess, because I'm a donor.
Yeah, so we'll talk more about this in a moment. Because right now, what I have to tell you is... the name game. Come on, everybody. I say now let's play a game. I bet you I can make a rhyme out of anybody's name. The first letter of the name, I treat it like it wasn't there. And then a B or an F, or an M will appear. And then I say bow at a B, then I say the name, then banana, feta, and foe. Then I say the name again with an F, very plain. Then a fee, fi, and a mo. Then I say the name again with an M this time, and there isn't any name that I can't rhyme. Rissa, 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 Bobissa, banana, feta, fofissa, fee, fi, momissa. Rissa, the name game. Woo! Thank you for that resub, Rissa. And like I know there's like a I have to get the message. There it is. Where'd it go? 39 months. Yay! So fa baby. Run away. Says Axe.
She said psycho killer. So it's like psycho killer.
Qu'est-ce que c'est? Mr. Monkey says becoming a donor is pretty much a slower death, right? And Chron's like, but what if you're really into being bitten?
Could happen.
Yeah.
But I feel like if you're a vampire, you could still get bitten.
Right?
You just wouldn't have to like donate a bunch of blood.
So, okay, if we're Vampire the Masquerade, you can probably get something out of it by getting like vampire blood and becoming a ghoul and getting some powers or whatnot, and living forever. But those like friends of his, the twins, they don't seem like they have any special powers. So I don't know if in this world getting vampire blood gives you special things. It looks like you would just be giving them blood. And that's it.
Yeah.
I don't know what the trade-off would... like, I don't know why you would just want to be a donor. Like, what do you get out of that? Maybe lots of money?
Unless it's like the Vampire Witness Protection Program.
Maybe.
And they like take care of you a little bit. Like you get like a monthly stipend.
It could be. Yeah.
And maybe they protect you from the bad vampires.
Yeah, but the thing is, I imagine that Mark wants to finish his degree. And I don't see how that means he's going to have to leave the house. And the House of Skulls apparently wants to murder him for reasons that we do not understand. And I just feel like
a little weird.
Being a donor is not going to protect him from being killed by the House of Skulls. It just doesn't seem...
I don't feel like that is the case, correct.
Yes. So I feel like he really doesn't practically have any good choices here. Honestly, so that judo chop is not going to help you forever, Mark.
Nope.
It's quite the protection racket, isn't it? Yeah, giving blood is preventing heart attacks or something. Yeah, I just don't think that practically... like, if I were Mark, whatever I would feel, I think Mark's into being a vampire. But even if Mark weren't into being a vampire,
it is too. Yeah,
I think he is. Even if he weren't, I just don't think he has a choice other than become a vampire. Not really, you know. Those are my thoughts.
Perhaps we'd better explain what is legend and what is truth to your student. It might make the adjustment easier.
That would be good, because if,
yes.
you know, there's some, it could be, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I feel like being taken care of by vampires would be more like how dogs are taken care of by humans. Well, I know a lot of humans who don't
Spoiled
like.
rotten.
Yeah. I know a lot of people who don't like other humans but love dogs. They're like, humans are burned alive. I don't care. Oh, my dog pooched. Right. So like, you might be fine, especially if you're like a toy poodle. But I want to go outside and chase the cars, Krellin.
What's there to say? He sees me daily. He knows that sunlight bothers me, but doesn't make me burst into flames. I don't walk beneath crucifixes. Holy water takes away my
It's
strength,
interesting because he's at
and he's
Catholic
never seen
University.
me eat.
Ugh, think about eating human food just makes me sick. It's awful.
We don't drink blood daily, and we can live well by only taking what we need without killing someone. People forget being bit pretty quickly.
Really?
Something about our saliva heals both the mind and
Probably
the
why
flesh.
he's all loopy
Yeah,
from
yeah.
last night.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Not every vampire is the same. Some force their donors to become victims. Like humans, there are good vampires and not so good ones.
Interesting.
Imagine there's probably some like donors who are like, yeah, but only if we do it like during sexy times.
Oh yeah, I imagine so. Fleetwood Flack, which is like Fleetwood Mac but different, says so maybe this has more content. Right? It's so good. Let's see. Okay, this is a steak. You stab vampires with it. You'll do fine. And he was never seen again. So here's the thing. If you forget about being bitten, I could imagine their vampires like, yeah, so I just bite somebody. They forget about it. I don't need to ask, right? Because they'll forget.
Yeah.
I imagine.
I imagine the more traumatic it is, though,
Oh,
the
yeah.
less likely they are to forget. So if it's like
Yeah.
super consensual, then maybe it's like, oh yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
We're just hanging out with my friend.
Although, like, you'd have to if they're like willing donors, you'd have to remind them that like this biting thing happens.
Yeah, well, maybe they know, but they
Yeah.
don't forget like the instance of the bite itself. Kind
Mhm.
of like how apparently, some people who get shots all the time, they're like, oh, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
Don't worry. Blood doesn't have to come from a person, but they taste better. Some humans volunteer to be our donors. They keep our secret for a price.
What is the price?
Money,
I'll
money,
take from a
money,
donor
money.
volunteer every week. Absolutely no longer than 1 month between bites.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's dangerous to be thirsty. Not biting makes you a little crazy.
Okay. Go on.
I bet you after he turned him into a vampire, he's going to want Jody to be his donor.
I feel like there are rules about this. Go on.
Biting people sounded cannibalistic.
It does
Not
not
if you're
actually-
a vampire,
yeah,
Mark.
Yeah. 'Cause
Mark wondered if he was in over his head, but he was fascinated. Would they really do it? Get away with biting people every so often and not get caught? Well, obviously. They have. Duh, Mark.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. You just get people who won't say anything, and if they say something, you kill them. Like, I feel like that's what they do.
The idea that they didn't feed daily made it seem possible. A dark thought suddenly crossed his mind.
What's the dark thought, Mark?
Did a vampire kill that student on campus?
Obviously.
Yeah, Mark. A quick look of admiration crossed Mickelson's face. The boy picked up on something.
Did he drop it like it's hot?
You've always had keen insight. Yes, and you've met the master of her murderer before today.
Oh.
That goth guy?
Mark pulled out his cell phone.
I need to tell my friends. Kyle
Well,
and Nate are in trouble.
You're not allowed to
Honey,
do
they're
that.
donors.
Yeah, first off, they're donors. House of Skulls, a skull thing, and also, you can't just call up, even if they weren't donors.
Can't just be like, yo, there's vampires. Stay away.
Yeah, that's like,
The professor grabbed his arm.
Think about what you're doing. Do you think they'll believe you if you start ranting about monsters? They'll think you're drunk. I only told you this to protect you.
That and the code,
Yeah.
that whole thing.
Axe said, yes, after being bombarded and force-fed and metaphorically slapped in the face with clues, Mark finally picked on one thing. One thing, Mark.
You're not supposed to be going around telling everyone. I thought you were ready for this. Was I wrong?
I'm not. You were wrong, Professor Mickelson. I can keep a secret.
You just told me the impossible exists. What should I be feeling?
Well, that what you thought was impossible is clearly not impossible, and then you deal with the
And
new
not
reality.
to call your friends.
Yeah.
Just deal with it, Mark.
Yeah, deal with it, Mark. Get good.
Get good, Mark.
Sometimes danger is closer than we expect. If they're hanging around the skulls, then they might already be in over their heads. We don't know. I want to give you the opportunity to live like us. I'd become a permanent mentor to you. You'll have the chance to study centuries. That's all I'll share. If you decide to join us, then I'll explain the rest as you adjust to your new life.
Lindy, what are you thinking? Of course that's what you're thinking. Krellin says, it's so weird to see a story with characters who are not genre savvy nowadays. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I think for me, I think the way that you could do the thing about the genre is that people recognize that there's multiple different tropes and you don't know which ones are real or not, right? Like, I feel like, okay, we know vampires are real, but we don't know which of the stories we know are the real ones, right? I feel like that's probably the way to do it, right? I kind of feel like, no lie, if it were me, that I'd be a permanent mentor to you would make me feel a little bit uncomfortable. Like,
Groomed. What did I say in session last week?
you said it.
Groomed.
Oh, so you're down below me. Yes. But also, I kind of feel like I'd be personally like, yeah, but what if I don't want to hang out with you anymore? Do you know what I mean? Like, I would worry about...
Well, then you have several centuries after that to maybe change mentors or something.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's an application process.
I'd also want to know how many vampires there are in the world. You know what I mean? Like, I'd like to have more
Right.
information.
There's
But
like 4 of them right here, 4 of them at college, at least 3 of them at college.
Yeah. I just think that Mark would be like, sure, without thinking about some long-term
I want you to think about this.
Of course. Like how long?
And if I say no, that I don't want to become a vampire?
Why would you...
Professor Mickelson, I knew it was dangerous to bring this boy here.
He was also bitten by a vampire, Mrs. Violet, so, it wasn't like there's a lot of choice
Yeah.
there. You know what I mean?
Child, you have no choice. If you reject us, you'll be killed by the House of Skulls.
Or you all.
I bet they just let the House of Skulls do their dirty work.
What?
Yeah.
I'm not going to coddle the boy.
I think you skipped one.
He could also become
No.
a blood donor.
Oh, okay.
They just looked.
Unacceptable. No one is going to feed from Mark.
Oh, why is
I
that Professor
forbid it.
Mickelson?
That's weird. Can I just touch on this moment?
I think that's why the other members are a little sus, because they're like,
Yeah.
Professor Mickelson,
Yeah. I just
here's
think
you to puppy.
Yeah, I just think it's a little bit weird because that comment, no one's going to feed from Mark, I forbid it, makes it sound like feeding from somebody is a bad thing. But they're just like, they're like, yeah, feeding from somebody is no big deal. And I was like, so what is it? Steve?
No, I think Steve has issues, specifically involving like Mark and his family. And the rest of them are like, he could be a donor if he doesn't want to be a vampire. And he's like, no one's going to. It's vampire or die.
Okay. Axe is like, would we really want to drink Mark's blood? I think he's kind of damaged goods. I don't want to risk it becoming my dump stat. Riss is like, I think there's an unhealthy attachment. I feel, and that right there is a thing that makes me a little concerned because it doesn't seem like I get to be a vampire autonomously. It seems I get to be Professor Mickelson's. That's all.
Yep.
Careful, Steve. You may be the enforcer, but this is my society that you are speaking to.
He's the founding member, I guess, or the highest ranking.
Ma'am, I've been thinking, why was Professor Mickelson weak to holy water?
Why are all of you weak to holy water?
It drains us. Unless we have faith, we cannot get near religious objects. It is not painful, just uncomfortable.
Interesting. So if you have faith, then you can be by the religious objects. Do you have to have the faith?
Maybe that monk is a vampire.
Oh.
Faith, the one that he got in an argument with, remember?
Yeah, maybe. Also, do you have to have faith in the religion that the object belongs to?
That is true. I don't know.
I don't know either. I have questions.
We forsake any divine plan and choose not to live a mortal life.
I feel like sometimes it's not a choice, though, right?
But vampires live forever, right?
Ooh, Hawkeye asked an interesting question. Do you have to have faith before you become vamped? That's an interesting question. That's interesting. I have to ponder that one. Maybe the monk is the head of the House of Skulls. Ooh, that would be creepy. Because I wonder if, like, you
That'd
could...
be a twist.
Like, if you could, like, gain faith after you become a vampire. I imagine you must be able to, right? I actually have no idea.
As long as we're not murdered or there's no major accident, we live for a very long time.
What kind of major accident?
Hearing the facts from Mrs. Violet calmed Mark, but what she said had bothered him. There was a thought and a warning poking in the back of his mind, but he couldn't remember something crucial about vampire lore. Is it the needing to be invited into a house or something?
Is it the fire? I don't know.
A just new life? It was hard for Mark to believe. Vampires shouldn't exist. Mark had never considered them real before. They were something in stories. Immortality was offered in front of Mark and it tempted him.
So I feel like I would adjust pretty well to
And
their...
she didn't say immortal, she said a very long time.
That's true. That's true. That's true. And interesting. Krell's like, someone failed their lore check.
Maybe she was young once upon a time and she's just lived for like 2,000 years or something.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, you live forever unless you meet a short stop of the point of a stick. Hawkeye says, I had fun playing a street minister that had been vampirized by someone. It was fun playing a character that was reluctant to feed. Mm-hmm. Although I suppose also it would depend on what you think feeding is, right? Like, in Urban Shadows. Lindy loves Urban Shadows.
I've never played Urban Shadows.
Oh, no, you like the other one. The one from Free League, right? Yes? No? The one that you should, that one you played at Dampier one time.
Oh, Unhallowed Metropolis.
Unhallowed Metropolis, thank you.
That's the one I like.
Thank you.
I like Unhallowed Metropolis a lot, yeah.
I mean, if you don't think of feeding on a human as a bad thing, then I suppose you wouldn't be reluctant about it. Like, I think that's the thing, right? Like, we drink milk from mammals, like cows and whatnot, and we don't feel like that is a terrible thing. So if you, I imagine if as a vampire you don't think of feeding from humans as a negative thing at all, then maybe you wouldn't be reluctant to feed. Sort of depends, right?
Probably depends on your vampire.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, yes.
I do want to play Urban Shadows at some point, though.
I've heard good things about it.
He hesitated. If he accepted the professor's offer, he'd be able to witness centuries.
Ooh, Valtiel says, wait, do farm animals see us as vampires? Maybe. They might. His conflict was since he would never die, he would never get to heaven. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Also, I feel like mosquitoes are just, like, tasty.
To become a scholar of humanity as ages passed, he'd also live as most men only dreamed, being young forever. But if Mark accepted the professor's offer, he'd have to also give up his normal life, including dates with Jody.
Why? Why would you have to give up having dates with Jody?
At least not for a few years, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, you could still date Jody for a while. I feel
Yeah.
like, come on, Mark. Other Jock quietly makes a note of Lindy's Urban Shadows interest and cackles maniacally.
I'm always interested in systems I haven't tried yet.
It's you.
Oh, Mark figured it'd be impossible to hide vampirism from Jody. Is it because she notices things that the average human being would notice, Mark?
Yeah.
He knew that he'd never age like she would.
Fair.
He'd always be in his 20s. He'd have to give her up, and he didn't like that thought. Or you say, hey, can my girlfriend become a vampire too?
You just,
if
like, wait a
it
bit.
gets that serial, Mark,
Yeah.
we should at least do she's not gonna notice for like 5 years.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
like,
yeah. I mean, you should be fine for that long. Yeah. Melissa says, it depends if you still believe you are human. If you don't, then humans mean as little to you as the cow that became your burger. Right? And you could also turn her. But also, like, maybe you, like, love your humans, like some people get attached, right? Oh.
Mark thought about his mother. Cancer sapping away her strength, her skin frail and cracked, her hair thinning and limp. Her whispered words of love as she faded.
Oh.
No, he did not want death either. He didn't want to fade and disappear in the world, forgotten, forever lost.
First off, your mom's not forgotten. You remembered her.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah.
That totally sounds like something he would definitely say.
Yeah.
Based on all these things he said and not decisions we're pushing him towards.
Thank you. We're not making this decision for him. We're looking at everything he said from way back when he was like, oh, the portrait of Dorian Gray would be so cool to live forever. Like, all of those things.
Yep.
And that whole thing about his mom, I think he clearly would say, like, yes, I'll do it. Absolutely. Yeah. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yes, I'll do it.
Yeah, I knew he would say that. Like, I just knew. By the way, we're gonna save right now. I just think it's time for us to do that. Yeah, I think we.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we just have to save. It's fine. We're gonna override our save. Yeah, he just really feels like the type that would. Yes.
Charlie flashed a fanged smile.
This was not how I wanted to initiate Mark. A good teacher would allow his student time to adjust to the unknown.
I feel like any of those answers could follow those, says Carlin. I suppose, except that the way that he'd been, like, his whole, like, every time we talked about vampires before this moment was always fairly positive. And when he...
And like, super positive about the immortality. He's
Yeah,
like,
super
oh, if only
positive.
I could be immortal.
Yeah. I think he would say it. He also said when talking lore with Steve, that he wouldn't turn down the chance. Right?
See?
Yeah. I just think he would. At least the way Mark has sort of developed. I will say one thing about the unknown. I think I would adjust well to the unknown, and this is why. I know that historically many things that we thought were impossible and not real, it turned out to have been real all along. Right? Like the Great Kraken, there are giant squid that are 100 feet long. That is a giant kraken. So there are clearly things that we consider stories and sea monsters that are real. Obviously real. The giant kraken, like, giant sea squids are clearly sea monsters. So, yes. And I think, actually, we didn't think that gorillas were real for a really long time. We thought they were myth. Yeah. I'm just saying.
You said it, not me. Glad we finally agree on something, Professor.
Oh, man. I just thought about something really awful. What if, like, being in this group, this Society of the Arts, is like being at faculty meetings with people who are irritating forever?
Well, I think Mark would be into it.
Probably.
He raised his eyebrow at her. Oh, I'm sorry. Pulling up his tweed jacket and apparently his vest, Professor Mickelson and his ponytail. I'm sorry. It just felt like a few things were missing. Professor Mickelson hung it over his chair. He paused and looked at Mark.
What is this? What is this? What are you doing? What's going on? This seems a little, he also took off his bow tie, like,
Oh yeah, tie, vest, and jacket, and ponytail.
Mark is the people at the faculty meetings annoying. Crowley, you're probably right, actually. So, here's the thing. Valtail says, there are a lot of animals that sound hard to believe if you describe them, like giraffes. That's true.
Duck-billed platypuses, they thought it was a hoax, because they did hoax animals back then. Here's this pink thing we sewed together, but they didn't actually stitch together the duck-billed platypus, it just was that weird.
Okay, so can I say something that's really weird? Lindy already knows, but you all don't know. I do not feel underdressed wearing this t-shirt and shorts, because t-shirt and shorts is a thing that you do. Professor, if I have often worn a dress shirt, bow tie, vest, jacket, I would not personally feel comfortable taking off my jacket, vest, bow tie, and then unbuttoning buttons.
And letting your hair down.
And letting my hair down in mixed company, because that would be an inappropriate amount of undressing.
I'd do it.
It would feel pretty weird. Like, what is my relationship to Mark right now? Like, I would feel weird about it.
Don't you need more time to think about it? Say clearly what you want, Mr. Delaware.
He's bringing some Dom energy right now.
He really is.
He's just bringing.
And we know Mark is definitely a sub.
He is. I'm just
Mark's eyes snapped to his, and they smooched. I'm sorry, I jumped ahead of myself. I don't.
I want to become a vampire.
Yeah.
When do you want to do this? After graduation?
Now.
Professor, if I wait to make this decision, I'll change my mind.
No, you won't, Mark.
Do it now. I'm ready.
I feel like if you would change your mind, then maybe you should wait until you think.
Then maybe you should not say yes.
Yeah.
However, I don't think you change your mind. I think you're like, I'd change my mind.
Oh no!
No, you should just do it now.
Just bite me.
Good man. You'll join the society and work with them until you're ready to be like me. If you ever choose not to be an enforcer, then that is your right. Let's do this. I'll be the one to initiate you.
I'm just telling you, I just got thoughts.
As should be. He'll be your tyro.
Ooh.
What's a tyro?
It's like your apprentice, but I know this term from some RPG, right?
Interesting.
Yeah, there's some RPG. I feel like actually, let's be really upfront about things. Like most terms from RPGs, where I learned my vocabulary was probably first edition AD&D. I bet it was one of those because back in first edition,
Weird. Yeah, they had a lot of
titles
Yeah.
per level. Like if you were this level, you were this title. Once you hit second level, you had a different title, and you had like titles for every single letter per class, level per class. I feel like that must have been in there somewhere, right? Somebody says if Mark was any more sub, he'd be $5 on Tuesdays.
Yes, I agree.
That makes me laugh.
Professor Mickelson unbuttoned his collar halfway down. He leaned over Mark.
Okay, so here's the thing. If I were to go and bite Mark to turn him into a vampire, I would definitely not be undressed. I would not have taken off my jacket, my bow tie, and my shirt. I just feel like
I don't know. Would you be though?
It kind of depends on what kind of relationship. Like that feels like.
But I feel like it also depends on the initiation.
Yeah.
I guess we'll find out.
I suppose we'll find out. Look, here's the thing. One of two things are happening. Either he's undressing because he doesn't want to get blood on his outfit, in which case he'd have to take his shirt off as well.
Yeah.
Because that's a white
Which
shirt.
he could do. I wouldn't mind.
Right. Or it just feels otherwise, if he's not doing it for like sanitary purposes, feels a little inappropriate in terms of like
That's also true. Tweed is far more expensive than a white undershirt.
Yeah. I just feel like what does the faculty handbook say about this sort of thing, do you think?
Don't bloodstain the tweed. I imagine that's what it says.
Listen carefully or you'll die. The little bit of blood I gave you last time was nothing like what will happen now. When I drink from you, I will drain you. As I do, you'll feel lost in joy.
Okay, yeah, I would have stayed more dressed than this.
I wouldn't have.
Carolyn wants to buy you a drink. Speaking of drinks, I should have that frozen margarita. Go ahead.
Then you must
I
drink
have a little
from
bit
me.
of Sunny
If
Delight
you start
left.
feeling sad, whatever you do, don't stop. Keep drinking until I tell you no more. If you stop too early, you will die.
Chug,
The
chug,
transformation
chug,
takes 2
chug.
hours. This is the hardest part.
Hey, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So, according to this, he will drain him and then Mark will drink from him.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't do right, he'll die. That sort of implies that they're not the undead. Right?
Which is... There's different variations. A lot of it,
Yeah,
vampires do have their own blood. They just... Their circulatory system isn't great.
Yeah. Because it doesn't sound like that Mark dies, right? Because in some lore, it's like you die first, and then you become reborn. But it sounds like, as Scabinac notes, that maybe in their lore,
Yeah.
they're actually not undead at all.
Well, they have used the term undead, though. So maybe you become partially undead when he, like... Imagine he'll give you some blood, and that'll, like, make you come to, and then you start drinking.
Yeah. Crown's like, it's Anne Rice style. It's like a rice snack. Mark nodded. The professor cast a red-rimmed stare at Mark. It almost unnerved the young man. He'd never seen the professor so intense. Is this what a vampire looks like before feeding?
Yeah. They're all gonna watch. Suddenly, hands held Mark against his chair.
Oh.
They swiveled him around, and he found himself looking straight at the ceiling's white, swirled stucco.
Oh.
Classy.
Yeah.
I like that. I know exactly what they're talking about.
Yeah,
Anyways,
me too.
the
It's like,
society circled Mark with fangs and a hungry look in their eyes.
why are they all fanging out right now?
Because there's about to be a feeding and it's exciting. Or they're just like, oh good, we don't have to hold the fangs back anymore.
Maybe it's
Well,
more relaxing.
Mark felt the weight of his chair, quickly leaned forward. The professor staggered over him, crawled over his seat, and pushed Mark's face against the chair. Mark tried to pull back, but he pushed harder.
I just feel like this is like I would have worn my bow tie. I just would have worn
And
my bow
only
tie.
the bow tie?
Maybe. And it's girl that's Archie.
Woo!
Maybe, I don't know. I just feel like this is very intense.
With his free hand, he tore Mark's collar and bit deeply into his neck.
Goodness. Oh!
Pain jerked Mark's body and his blood poured out. Nicholson drank Mark's blood as his shirt stained red. Would he die before he transformed? Was it a mistake to trust him? Doubts circled in his head.
Too late now, Mark. Lindy, more Sunny D! Oh,
Mark looks like he's having a great time.
he does.
Suddenly, a wave of emotion crashed into Mark. He sucked in air and was sent into spiritual euphoria. Feeling of pure joy washed over him as his body became too heavy to move. He was immobile, but he didn't care.
As his life is draining. Also, do you think that you could maybe... I wonder if you could drink from people in a less bloody way. Like, do you think that some people are, like, cleaner eaters than others?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, right?
I mean, I've watched What We Do in the Shadows.
Yeah, of course.
The steady rush of happiness engulfed him in a passing thought. Mark wasn't certain if it was because of the draining blood or the vampire's bite.
They made it gay. Nice.
Mark's breathing became shallow as he shivered from a growing chill. He'd lost too much blood and was moments away from going into shock. The vampire stopped holding him down. Weak, Mark slumped, then found himself coaxed to sit upright.
Mm-hmm.
Once he had stopped drinking, the euphoria left him. He shivered and felt its loss. He wanted to feel that intense high again.
I see. Maybe with this central line you could use it like a straw, right?
Yep. He now understood why humans would be willing donors if a vampire's bite brought this kind of happiness, and he knew that soon he'd be able to give this kind of high to others.
I have some questions about all that.
He realized he wanted that kind of power.
Okay, Mark.
If he didn't die from this first.
I'm a little worried that Mark might not be a good person once he becomes a vampire. Lindy's not worried at all.
All his thoughts became hazy. He began to fade.
Missile says, probably my VTM character uses blood bags. What? They have a built-in straw.
The professor studied his young student. Mickelson seemed different. He was not the same professor who wore tweed jackets and kept his hair brushed back. He looked like an escaped animal.
He kind of looks like a Lothario.
Vampire's wild eyes stared at Mark's neck. He took a knife out of his pants pocket and slowly pulled open its blade. I'm glad they said pocket.
Yeah, sure.
He just took a knife out of his pants.
Yeah. Mark just became extremely problematic. I'm a little bit worried about Mark. It's cool. Hawkeye says, I call it now. Mark's Superman syndrome.
Mark shivered when he saw it. The knife. Afraid Mickelson would change his mind and instead plan to punish him. Mark wanted to trust the professor. Believe in him, but everything was far from anything he'd known.
It's too late.
Steve Mickelson slid his hand along one of his shoulders and winced as he cut a horizontal gash deep into his skin. The professor placed the knife behind him and leaned forward, his blood dripping down his shirt.
That's maybe why you should have taken off the shirt, too.
Mark flinched. Grabbing the back of his head, Mickelson forced Mark towards the scarlet flowing from his body.
Or just, kept your hand away from your body, you know?
Don't hesitate. Drink!
Narrator, finish him!
Oh, he's crying. I'm sorry. Just such a... I would have laughed drawing this picture if I was the artist.
Nice.
I would have... Anyways, he was moments from bleeding to death, and he'd have to trust that the Society of the Arts were not playing a cruel, sadistic prank. He placed his mouth against Mickelson's skin and swallowed.
Can I make a small, comment?
Yes.
Everybody else's vests fit properly.
I was gonna say, no, everyone else is now wearing super low-rise pants.
Yeah. Just gonna note
That's the difference.
Yep.
Yes.
Some people wear super low-rise pants.
The vampire's blood was disgusting, thick, and tasted rotten. Mark choked. Spitting it out, he shook his head.
Interesting.
You're a fool!
Mickelson insulted as he forced Mark's face against his shoulder.
You cannot stop. You must drink. Quickly!
Ooh, I love those fangs, Rissa. Nice.
Nice. Mark stopped gagging and swallowed the awful taste. His mind cleared. The earlier fuzzy forgetfulness left him in a rush. His focus came snapping back. Then sadness came.
Steve did say there'd be sadness.
At first it was a little. Tears rolled down Mark's face, and he sobbed as he drank.
Why?
It's probably just the opposite emotional rush or something.
Yeah, probably. Ooh.
That feeling grew to sorrow, then depression, then the deepest despair. It drowned him.
Are all vampires very emo?
Maybe. The amount of joy he felt earlier was nothing compared to this sadness. This depression weighed him down as though a boulder had dragged him far beneath an ocean's waves.
Krellin notes, Lindy, don't you see? Mickelson needs a low-rise pant so he can get to his knife quickly.
Oh my gosh, I should have
Yeah,
known.
that makes sense. That makes sense.
Is that a wooden stake in your pants, or are you just happy to see me? He
Mickelson
felt
does
as if
also have a wooden stake in his pants somewhere, so I mean, you know, you were saying?
he felt as if he'd lost everything, his family, his friends, his future, but the feeling was 10 times worse. He was in agony and he wanted to die.
That's interesting. Do you think that's, like, chemical?
Oh, it's probably, yeah, your body's no longer living anymore.
Oh,
so.
I see. Mr. Monk's
The
like,
feeling of...
the text said shoulder, but the image is his forearm.
Yeah, they
did
probably
not
thought
consult-
the shoulder was too sexy or something, I don't know.
Yeah.
They're like, we need to keep this PG or whatever, I don't know. Feeling of separation slammed into him. Mark gasped. It felt as if his spirit was ripped out, as though the center of his being was torn in two. It physically hurt.
Interesting. Krellin, there was no pain, no fear, no doubt, till they pulled me out from heaven.
He wanted it to return, whatever it was that he'd lost. Replacing that fullness was a hollow emptiness. He didn't know where it came from, but he knew he lost something important.
His soul, do you think?
I think, yeah,
Yeah.
probably. He wondered if his sadness was somehow linked to that feeling of separation.
Yes.
Suddenly, he became afraid of the choice he'd made.
Too late?
Too late. However, Mark continued to drink Mickelson's blood. Eventually, through his tears, Mark felt stronger and stopped shivering. His sorrow faded, but the emptiness remained. You know, there's one thing he was like, you know, I feel like I'm forgetting something. I think that's what he was forgetting.
Yeah, maybe it was that, yeah.
Mickelson exhaled.
You can stop now. You did well, Mark. The first step of the transformation isn't easy.
The
next
30-step
part of the
process.
transformation isn't
We
pleasant.
didn't tell
but
you.
You'll feel nothing like the sadness you felt earlier.
You're gonna have to learn how to tie a bow tie, Mark.
No.
So that's my friend. I live in hell, but except been expelled from heaven. Don't worry, you were using that soul. You weren't using that soul anyway. After a while, your holy goes. That's what Lindy's character, Wealth, Wendell.
Wendell Eustace Abernathy Lucius Throckwaddle Hassenpfeffer IV of the Habersham Hassenpfeffers. His initials spelled mouth.
That's
He was a pyramid scheme warlock, and that's what he was. That was one of his like selling points.
pyramid scheme warlock.
Yes, it's a trickle-up power effect. Anyways, visibly weakened, the professor grinned. Mark grinned too with the satisfaction that he, no, somehow they, had made it. Sticky blood covered Mark's mouth and throat. He knew he should have been horrified at himself, but he wasn't.
Nope.
He was emotionally exhausted. The moment he stopped drinking from the professor, the sadness had left. Finally, Mark, freed from despair, was too weak to enjoy the moment.
I do like this background music.
Mm-hmm. He collapsed, and Professor Mickelson caught him before he fell to the floor. Charlie tried to pick up the new vampire, but the enforcer stopped him with a growl.
Again, I'm feeling a weird possessiveness. As I think it was Risu noted, there was perhaps an unhealthy attachment here.
Mm-hmm.
He's my apprentice. My Tyro. I found him. I formed him. I'll carry him.
I have some concerns.
In one jerk, Mickelson picked up Mark. Charlie passed him in the hallway as Mickelson brought Mark to a corner bedroom near the house's entrance.
Mr. Monkey, steps 3 through 12. Interesting. Like you're dying over and over again. Yeah, acts like, oh yeah, that got creepy real fast. He'll remember Jody eventually. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Mark struggled to remain conscious when Charlie helped Mickelson by removing Mark's shoes. The two vampires left Mark lying on the bed. Instead, took his shoes off, alone in the room to suffer the rest of the transformation.
It's interesting they just leave him to do that by himself. Like, you'd think they'd, like, pull up a chair or whatever.
No, maybe it's something you have to do by yourself.
Maybe it involves, like, singing that song 16 Tons by Tennessee Ernie Ford over and over again. I don't know what happens. Go ahead.
Well, they don't want to do it. Yeah. Through groggy eyes, Mark watched Professor Mickelson sink to his knees as he stepped out of the doorway. Belmonte approached and helped Charlie drag Mickelson away.
Weird. Crone says, do you think maybe Steve has never had a Tyro before? Maybe.
Possibly.
Possibly.
I don't know. Mark thought for a moment that he could feel the professor's exhaustion and wondered if the impression was his imagination or simply sympathy. He figured he was overthinking things. Oh, I'm getting like a thrall master type of.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel
Yeah,
like
maybe he hasn't had a thrall before.
yeah, maybe not. Also, I kind of feel like
last throw was like his family and they all died or
Yeah,
something.
or something. Also, I feel like that maybe they didn't. There's a lot of information they have not given Mark, but whatever.
Worn out, Mark fell asleep.
That's what happens after an encounter like that. You know, an intense one with all of that.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Harsh sunlight glared in Mark's room. Turning away from the light, Mark squeezed his eyes shut and rubbed his temples. Loud cooing doves twittered from a neighbor's tree, and he pressed his hands against his ears, trying to block the noise. His stomach churned, and with a rocking motion, he sat up. Look, I feel like right now we should probably save.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I also think we should check our stats.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Let's. I think we should do that. Let's see.
I think we might have bloodlust now.
Let's see. No, not yet.
Oh, not yet. Not
No,
yet.
Not yet. Not yet. Okay. Okay. And we still our humanity hasn't dropped, so that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Maybe just a little bit.
Rubbing his sore neck, the taste of blood lingered in his mouth. Mark felt cold and thirsty. With a shiver, he groaned. Vampires were real. Professor Mickelson was a vampire, and he, Mark Delaware, had volunteered to become one of them. He didn't have a lot of choices, so you know. Bile rose to his throat. Leaning over, he vomited into a trash can near the bedpost. That's good of Mark. To vomit into the trash can and not
Not on the carpet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna give Mark points for that. That's like a big points. Even after throwing up, he couldn't shake the sickness off. His nausea was worse than a frat party hangover.
Because you've been to so many of those, Mark.
He knew this was his fault, and he'd chosen the sickness. He fell back on the bed. The ceiling swirled above him as the room seemed to rock. It was the worst case of vertigo he'd ever had. Charlie heard Mark and rushed into the room with a plastic bucket of water.
Splash.
It's more withdrawal than hangover. Yeah. This is just the hangover. Axe is like, yeah, I'm getting the impression that there was a lot of fine print to this agreement that was all withheld. Yeah. And Hawkeye's like, hey, he's become a vampire already. His behavior's improved. Come on, get down with the sickness. Charlie wiped Mark's mouth with a wet rag and pushed back the young vampire's hair.
Sorry. Steve, as your new father, should have been here, but he's in bed. He made you drink more blood than you should have last night. We're bringing over donors to help him.
Interesting.
Very.
Interesting. Last night seemed like ages ago. Then Mark was a normal college student. Now, life was beginning to seem a little surreal. He was actually speaking with a vampire while supposedly changing into one. He should kind of... his ears hurt. Those damn birds won't shut up. A look of confusion crossed Mark's face.
Donors are people who know about us and support us by giving blood.
Because they're addicted?
Probably.
Yeah. He tried not to heave. Donors. The word sounded unattached to Mark, so distant, so not human.
No, they're very
I'm
human,
shocked
Mark.
you
It's us
said
who
this so
aren't.
fast. If we'd known that Mickelson was going to change you so soon, we would have prepared. What am I talking about? You're both impulsive. You'll be a great vampire, and I hope we'll be friends.
Hi, Lysander. We're watching Mark being... You know, I feel like turning people who are very impulsive may not be a good idea. Whatever.
I know you might hate us right now for forcing you to choose. But once the pain goes away, you'll feel different.
Head like a hole is about being
You'll
a donor.
see.
They both have untreated ADHD. You make me closer to God, but never getting there. Oh. Rolling over to his side, he tucked his knees under his stomach and groaned. Charlie brought some medicine to lessen the nausea, but it didn't help. Mark's mouth was sore and his mouth tasted horrible. Eventually, he pulled himself out of bed, stumbled to the bathroom, and looked at himself in the mirror. He was sickly pale and covered in sweat. His red-rimmed, watery eyes stared back at him. Frowning, Mark stuck the toothbrush into his mouth to get rid of the bad taste, and whoa!
I like how he suddenly has eyeliner on.
That's what
I'm
happens when
sorry.
you're a vampire. You have
just
eyeliner
get
on.
natural eyeliner.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's a vampire thing.
Yep.
clanging into the sink.
Except the professor doesn't seem to have it. Neither do any of the other
Weird.
arts people. So weird.
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 But the House of Skulls have eyeliner on.
They do. I know there's lipstick and powder. I think he put the eyeliner on.
Maybe he did. Clanging into the sink, a bloody front tooth fell out of his mouth as the taste of rotten blood followed. Mark spit and then checked out the missing tooth in the mirror slowly. He wriggled the opposite one. It quickly popped from his gums. Mark started hollering. This wasn't happening. Oh, this is interesting. In this
fangs
world,
are growing in.
Yeah, it's like baby teeth, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're watching Mark be a total Mark as he marks up the whole situation. Freaking Mark. That's Missile Monkey. Krell's like, "You're tearing me apart." Oh, hi, Mark. Permanent eyeliner, says Oddie Geek. Being a vampire seems to have some pretty decent perks. Like, I want free eyeliner. That's volatile. Like, yeah, right? It's like some people get tattoos of eyeliner, and this you don't have to deal with that. Haka says, it seems to stimulate melanocytes around the eyes.
It's okay. You're all right.
No, he wasn't okay. He'd lost teeth.
Bruh.
He wondered if he'd lose his hair next.
It happens to all of us. Your fangs are descending.
Look, honey, you're just going through a period of your life where your body's going through some changes. And one of those changes includes fangs because you're a vampire now.
Yeah. Mark paused at the word fangs. Mark, what were you thinking? Slowly, he swished water and spit again. He didn't want to be the world's first toothless vampire. With hesitation, Mark looked into the mirror. New little sharp canines peeked out where he'd lost his teeth. As we watched, they slowly descended into place. Mark tugged at them just to see if they were real. He nicked his finger. Gasping in pain, he popped the bloody finger into his mouth.
When this is over, Steve suggested I should teach you how to blend in a crowd. I think it'll be fun. There's a lot of places you and I can go. I look young, but I have more experience than the others.
And apparently, you're very old. In Sluggy Freelance, says Krellin, being made a vampire instantly changed your body into society's ideal of beauty. It was actually suggested that to the vampires that they use this fact as marketing. Oh, interesting. Lysander says, but consider your fangs being like a shark's, just new ones popping in every night. Oh, that'll be interesting.
That'd be so cool.
Yeah, don't worry. Fangless vampires aren't vampires for long, says Missile.
Steve will be a teacher for the really important things.
Like what? Feeding.
Wait, you're not the youngest?
No.
You look young. Well, Mrs. Violet has to be the oldest.
I think Steve is the oldest. Come on.
Oh,
I think
I'm glad she didn't hear
another
me say that.
Italian-ish guy.
No, Violet transformed in the 1950s. Don't be fooled. Even though she looks the oldest, she's actually our youngest member besides you.
I wonder how often they turn vampires. It doesn't seem that frequent.
No.
She knew us since the 1920s, and we all appreciated her eye to catch fake art. She surpassed even President Belmonte in that gift. He is her progenitor, although it took him decades to convince her to be one
That's
of us.
why she's old looking.
Yeah. Mark couldn't believe Mrs. Violet was the youngest society member. Her personality seemed so uptight compared to the others.
Honey, that's because she's the youngest, and she was like she was Edwardian when she was born. If she looks like maybe like 70 or something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If it was years from the 20s, she 30 years old in the 1920s. Yeah, 30, 40 years old. Yes, that timeline checks out. Of course she'd be uptight. End of the Victorian, beginning of the Edwardian era? Yes.
Alternately.
For her upbringing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Alternately, she's uptight because she's hanging out with a group of people who seem to sometimes make poor choices.
Well, also, they're way older, so of course they're going to be more lackadaisical. She hasn't had as much time to adjust, and she was born up, again.
Yes.
Late Victorian, early Edwardian. Yes. Like, what a time to be alive.
Although, I will note that she may not be in her 70s. Because people aged real fast. What if she's only in her 30s?
She doesn't look in her 30s.
I mean, she could have aged.
Their hair didn't usually age as fast, though.
It's true.
So that's fine. I'm going off of her hair.
Yeah. I'm with you. He wondered if they'd learn to adjust to the times, and she couldn't, or maybe she wouldn't. They often don't depict old person vampires. I think I like that more than eternal children vampires. Kron says, also her job is to be cynical and expect the worst. That's true. That's
Yep.
true. Alternately, she's being uptight because, I don't know, she's probably uptight. It could also be that.
I'm the second oldest. Lamont
See, I
thinks
called
so.
it.
Yeah.
He's got the Renaissance hat.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah. It's weird because you kind of just would assume, like, because Steve was talking about ancient Rome like he'd been there.
Our human families
Mhm.
die or forget us. It's for the best new vampires cut ties.
Is it?
When you don't age, when the younger generations don't believe that you're related, it's painful when family rejects you. We're the president's family now.
Or you don't have the same relationship to family. Like, you can chill. Like, it's cool. Also, how convenient that Mark does not hang out with his father and also...
That Mark's like super against his family. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the reasons he was a candidate.
Yes. Rissa asks, I wonder if a pregnant person is turned if they are then perpetually pregnant.
I'd
lot of
imagine
people would say
not.
yes. A lot of people would say yes, right? That you stay in the same place, depending on the lore, wherever you were.
I don't.
But then they would just stay.
My vote would be no.
Really?
Mhm.
I think they would never, like, if you, because there's that one, I can't remember which one it was, where like if you cut your hair the next night it'll be exactly the way it was before. That, like, you just always stay whatever, your body is always reset to that one moment. What if, like, your baby becomes a vampire and there's some kind of like Twilight situation going on?
See, I feel like that would be more likely, or you just wouldn't be pregnant anymore. You'd be like, well, I was gonna have a baby, but
Oh, Crone's like, that's VTM rules, Trooper. Thank you. But I think I saw. If I recall correctly, says Miss Monkey, your new vampire body would automatically reject your child.
that's what I
Yeah.
that's what I was most leaning towards.
Yeah. Mark remembered that Charlie mentioned his father was a Dahomey prince. He wondered if Charlie was pushed out of his birthright because his family had forgotten him. That was a sad thought. I don't think that doesn't make sense to me. That doesn't make sense to me. Right? Because, well, they wouldn't know he was dead right away. Like, he would probably still become the prince. He might not be able to stay prince forever.
Yeah, and if he wasn't the eldest prince, he wouldn't have gotten the throne, and then they would have been like, "That's really weird. You're not aging. That's especially if you traveled a lot."
Yeah.
They'd be like, "You're not related to us, please."
Or like, you know what? We're weirded out by you. Maybe you're a vampire and you should leave.
Yep.
Other society vampires came in from time to time, but it was mostly Charlie who cared for Mark. Eventually, an exhausted Mickelson took over caring for him, and gave Mark an IV of something red. His blood. Otherwise, he wasn't allowed to eat.
Come on, Mark. It wasn't tropical punch Kool-Aid.
Come on now.
Like, come on.
The pattern of heaving, medicine, and drowsiness continued for 3 days. Oh! We'll come back to that. He heard Mickelson's worried voice whisper that it was taking Mark longer than normal to adjust. Remember when his twin buddies were missing for 3 days? What if they're vampires too?
I think they're donors because they didn't have fangs.
Yeah, they didn't have fangs, but it was weird, right?
Everyone else has had fangs.
Yes, true. Mark couldn't wait to feel better, and he wondered if he ever would.
Mark, you're missing a lot of classes, I have a feeling.
Yeah. This is you.
I read for the first 2 hours. I think you can still go.
Wow.
I'm saying.
Fine. His mind was refreshed. Mark's sense of smell was stronger. So was his hearing. Breathing in again, he concentrated on rose perfume mingled with sweat. He heard breathing and a sharp gasp. Mesmerized by the scent and the sound, he walked down the creaky hallway and neared a room at the end of the hall.
Was he gonna see a donor?
Probably. Somewhere in that room was a familiar presence, as though Mark was emotionally linked with whomever was past the open door. It's Jody. Surprise jolted through him. Mark felt someone else's pleasure on the other side of that doorway. Someone satiated his thirst. It made Mark think about his own dry throat. He drank water, but he was still thirsty. He pushed open the door. Oh.
Yep, donor.
Yep. Mickelson straddled on his seat. A brunette woman sat in between his lap. She smiled as Mickelson sucked her throat. Mickelson squeezed her tighter as she brushed back her hair from his neck. I just feel like you should not be seeing your professor in this sort of situation.
I think it's a little late for that, Trooper.
I suppose you're right. Mark somehow knew that he enjoyed biting her. Suddenly, his fierce eyes locked onto Mark's. Mark wondered if Professor Mickelson could also sense him. Mickelson released the woman, and the scent of blood slammed into Mark. Mickelson hollered. Uh-oh.
Get him away from here!
Oh,
Blood lost.
Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. Mark acted on instinct. He sprang at her, pushing past the society. They couldn't stop him? The vampires caught Mark in midair, slamming against the wooden floor as they dragged him out of the room. He was strong, stronger and faster than he'd ever felt before, and he was giving the society a fight. Slapping the planks, Mark tried to keep them from pulling, but he was no match for 3 vampires.
Bring him downstairs. We'll feed him there.
They restrained his arms and dragged him to the living room. Mark kicked and screamed, furious they wouldn't let him go. He wanted to know why they wouldn't share.
Check your bloodlust stat.
Yeah, let's do it. No, we're good. We're fine.
Oh, okay.
Fine. The society whispered to each other, but Mark couldn't focus on them. He hungrily watched Mickelson's donor as he escorted her away. The only thing Mark focused on was her neck, and the only thing he wanted to do was bite it.
Bloodlust. Child, you'll get over it once you feed.
My dear, you know he can't hear you.
I can hear you. Professor Mickelson entered the room and stared at his new vampire apprentice.
I want blood now!
Ooh, hey, Mark. An animal-like fury ripped from Mark. He seemed ready to attack anyone, including the vampire in front of him. Mickelson tugged Mark's scalp and forced him to look up. Mark could feel his fear. Mickelson was afraid.
Mark, listen. Miss Laura, my donor, could lose her life if you bite her like this. Here, drink this instead. When you drink, only take 10 gulps, no more. Listen to your body. You'll quickly feel satisfied.
He poured a glass of red liquid. He ripped the cup from Mickelson's hands and began to take big gulps, emptying the glass. Oh. Hey. The blood thing will probably let us know when we're getting bloodlust.
I think so.
Yeah. Suddenly, Mark's eyes became clear.
I felt her pleasure when you bit her. Why?
Because you have powers?
As long as we're nearby, a tyro and its progenitor are always emotionally linked. We won't be able to hear each other's thoughts, so don't worry. I won't listen in.
Yeah, how many milliliters in a gulp? Actually, I feel like a big gulp from 7-Eleven is more than just milliliters, right?
My donor felt joy when I bit her. What we sense is their spirit. When we connect with their blood, we're able to feel their emotions.
Interesting.
What emotion is the blood? Is it sanguine? Is it...
Melancholy.
What humor is
What
it?
humor
Yes.
is it? Now that he wasn't going crazy by the scent of blood, he remembered the serious question he wanted to ask while he transformed into a vampire. Mark wanted an explanation for the emptiness, the hollow rift he felt inside.
Is it true that vampires lose their souls?
Ooh, 40 ounces. 40 ounces to freedom. 15 milliliters is a tablespoon, judged from there. Mickelson huffed.
I thought you didn't care about such things.
Who does that?
Child, we aren't the original vampires. We do not know that answer. All of us here transformed from the blood of another. I don't worry about it. You shouldn't either.
See? No big
Yeah,
deal.
why would we worry about that?
If it
Please.
is true, then if we die, we'll all go to hell, I suppose.
Well, that's not necessarily true, right? I mean, if you no longer have a soul, it could be that your soul's in heaven right now. Right? Like,
Unlikely. Mark will be fine.
okay, so what is our choice here, Lindy, and why?
He seems to be like, did I make a mistake for like 10 seconds before going, no, I'm awesome, blah, 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 blah. I'm Mark. I make the markiest decisions that ever marked.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with you with Mark will be fine.
He'll be fine. He'll get over it.
Yeah, what I think is interesting is that
Because it doesn't say I'll be fine. It just
No,
says Mark will be fine.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because did I make a mistake? Is from Mark's voice. Mark will be fine is you and I being like, no, Mark, you'll be fine. Don't worry about
He'll
it.
be fine.
I feel like Mark will be fine. Krillin says, yeah, the originals are hanging out in New Orleans, right? And Hawkeye's like, to go to hell, you actually have to have a soul. That's a good point. I don't know if they will go to hell, right? Because they don't have a soul. It's a good point, Hawkeye. Mark had everything to gain. His fears were nothing. If he was to live this new life, he knew he had to make the most of it. Yeah, that sounds like him. He'd have to live the best life he could, even if he lived to be 500 years old. So you're not just marking Mark off Mark, you're marking Mark off your ideal of Mark. I think Mark will be fine, right?
I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, I think he'll be fine. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that comment. Wait, we have to go back up. Wait. After Mark was frozen forever 23, we have a discussion about Mark being 23 and a senior in college. That implies that he took a year off before he went to college?
Possibly. I don't know.
He promised himself he would be
Or
kind.
he got held back a year.
Or he got held back a year. Yeah. No matter what his fears were, they would not control him. He
Too
wouldn't
many
kill.
language electives.
Too many language electives. Yeah. He wouldn't kill no matter how strong his bloodlust.
We'll see how long that stays, Mark.
Mark sincerely hoped he could keep that promise to himself. Ooh. Well, that's a beautiful moon.
That is a beautiful moon.
Or he couldn't get the right classes to get through in 4 years.
Ooh. Yeah. Or change like majors.
Or he changed majors multiple times. Yeah. Ax, it's funny you say that. Supergiant Games just released a baby Cerberus plushie based off of their best doggo from Hades.
Aww. That's cute.
I feel like this one you can read.
I can. The night was crisp when all of the society walked out to Mrs. Violet's backyard.
What's your
Mark's
house?
vampire eyes. Oh, I guess that's her house.
Yeah.
Mark's vampire eyes saw the full moon as a glowing pearl. Its light looked stronger than anything in his human memories. Thousands of stars glistened that clear Colorado night. Colorado. Mickelson pulled a small, red, wrapped package from his coat pocket and gave it to his new apprentice.
Open it, Tyro.
I think it's weird you're calling him by his...
What does
Just
Tyro
nickname him.
mean, anyways?
Oh, maybe so they can
A
get this
beginner.
explanation.
It's what we call our apprentices.
I think somebody can double check. I feel like Tyro was maybe the title you got if you were a fighter. Like first level fighter, maybe? Somebody has to look at the AD&D book. They will know it. Okay, says Carlin. Colorado is also a place you get mountains dominating the skyline like that. Oh.
This is a ring from the Society of the Arts. Read the inside.
The inscription read, "Honor the code, there are secret hides."
Technically, that's the Society's motto. It means to always pretend to be human. Our lives depend on it. This rule has kept the Society safe for hundreds of years.
Thank you.
A question.
Yes.
No thanks are necessary. The Enforcer and I spoke while you were transforming. Since you'll be his trainee, you're not yet an Enforcer.
So I'm thinking about Dracula, right? So a lot of the more modern vampire stories, Anne Rice onwards, Vampire the Masquerade, etc., emphasize the vampire as the subject. Like we vampires must hide ourselves from society, right? Like this sort of a thing. But I just feel like that wasn't the vibe in Dracula. I feel like Dracula had a big old creepy castle and was like, hey,
I do what I want.
I do what I want. I'm Dracula. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like he was
Yeah.
advertising he was a vampire, but I don't feel like it was like a... So no, Tyra's not one of the level titles from AD&D. Where do I know this? Where do I know it
Is
from?
it a GURPS thing?
I feel like it's not a GURPS thing, but it's from an RPG. Because that's the only place I know things like that. I have to figure out where I got it from.
Steve didn't want you to belong to a house, but after we discussed it, we think it's best for new Tyros to join the vampire family. However, this may give us some problems.
What is this about?
Other groups will see Mickelson's choice as favoritism, but don't worry about that too much. That will be our concern. Go ahead. It'd be our honor. Wear our crest.
Wait, what's going... Maybe Call of Cthulhu? I don't know if it was Call of Cthulhu. Mark, so go ahead, that's you.
Mark slid the ring on his finger. It fit perfectly.
Welcome to the Society of the Arts. Play your part well.
Yeah, Max is like, no, I feel like we should worry about those other groups. Like, maybe we should.
Cheers, clapping, and hugs surround Mark. Raising the Society of the Arts ring, Mark studied it in the clear moonlight and looked forwards to a very interesting life.
I feel like there's again more information we've not been given the lore dump. Is what I'm trying to say.
What
You need to learn how to be a proper vampire. I recommend Charlie teaching you, since he has a knack for hunting. But I can teach you as well. Who would you prefer to instruct you?
Oh, okay. Hold on now. I feel like we're gonna be given a choice and we need to talk about it.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's just save right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay.
Oh gosh.
Okay. Charlie.
I don't think it's the last one.
No.
He got over that real fast.
He did get over that real fast. Charlie, Professor Mickelson, should I be able to learn? Mark should be able to learn by himself. Shouldn't I be concerned about my soul? Did I make a mistake? So.
My vote's for Charlie.
So you're voting for Charlie. Anna Geek is voting for Charlie because Charlie says he's better at hiding in plain sight.
Also, because if he can feel Professor Mickelson's emotions, that might interfere with the training.
Oh, that's a good point.
Like, because he'd be able to see if he's doing well or if he's doing
Yep.
poorly.
Yes.
Like, as like too like it might influence him.
Yes. Also,
I also do not think he should be allowed to learn by himself.
No.
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 I think it should be Charlie.
Yes. I also feel like Mark, having had that experience of like having the bloodlust situation, might realize that he too should not learn by himself. I feel like
Yes.
Yeah.
Or maybe with Professor Mickelson.
Yeah. So the question is, but doesn't your version of Mark make bad decisions and is obsessed with Mickelson? Well, the thing is, he sometimes makes bad decisions, but I also feel like he learns from situations, right? And
He is obsessed with Mickelson.
he is obsessed with Mickelson. Whew, that's a good point, Krellin. He is obsessed with Mickelson. However, we also know that there's a weird favoritism thing going on, that people might assume there's weird favoritism.
Mm-hmm. And he doesn't want to make Mickelson look bad. And there was that incident recently. He didn't seem happy about that incident with like the whole bloodlust thing.
Yes. Mark is 23 years old. He already knows it all, and now he's a vampire on top of that. He doesn't need any blood instruction. Oh.
But he needs blood instructions.
Yeah. Google is something that Tower is used as a title in Elder Scrolls game. Could that be it? Could be, yes. Yeah, could be. So I think the only two, because also the thing about Mark, he may be 23 years old, but he is like such a sub when it comes to being a TA. Do you know what I mean? He's like, oh,
Yep.
yeah. So I feel like he would take instruction. The question
Mhm.
is Charlie or Mickelson, and I've got two feelings. One, yes, obsessed with Mickelson, yes, but Charlie was the one who actually helped him through his process.
Yes.
Yes.
And also, I feel like he knows about the emotional connection,
does,
and
yeah.
that might not be good. I think he might realize that might not be ideal for training.
Yeah.
Because if Charlie shows him how to do it by biting somebody first, if Mickelson does it, it might trigger that
Yeah.
emotional
Yeah.
thing again.
And Charlie's super old.
Charlie is he's the second oldest.
Right. Here's another side. Go Charlie because of Steve's strange obsession.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Ooh. Okay, that would cause some drama, which as a player I think is exciting.
Yeah, I know. I'm vote for Charlie.
And maybe Mark would not want to disappoint Mickelson by being bad at it in the beginning in front of him.
That's yes.
Right?
Which is why I was partially with the emotional connection,
Yeah,
because like if he's doing poorly, he'd know it instantly.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna go with Charlie, and I just want to say, this is a difficult choice between these two choices, right? Because
This is not easy, but I think Charlie's the right answer.
I think Mickelson's reaction to the bloodlust situation only concern for Miss Laura, as enforced at his job's protecting. Yes, I totally agree with you, Carlin. I totally agree with you. But it was like an intense reaction. Do you know what I mean? And I don't know. I don't know. It
was an intense reaction for Mark.
Yeah. Yes.
And I don't know if he wants to,
Yeah.
feel that again while going through training.
Yeah. So I and also Lindy, we really try to make these choices based on what we think would make sense, right, for Mark. that the Mark that we've come to learn and know. And I really think we could go either way, but I think I'm moved by your Charlie choice.
Okay.
Because the thing is, I think that maybe part of him would want to pick Mickelson. You know what I mean?
Yeah, part of him, but
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
again, he didn't want to disappoint.
Yeah.
And maybe doesn't want to get like weirdly emotionally influenced
Yeah.
during it.
Yeah. 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 Also,
And Charlie did take care of him for most of that not
He
feeling
did.
wellness.
he did. He did.
Charlie was like, I think we'll be great friends. And, I think
Yeah.
he needs a vampire friend right now.
Yes, I think he does. And I also think he probably, how do I put this? He's a little lonely, our Mark, right? Like he doesn't seem to have, like, his best friends are the twins. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and he doesn't seem to be, also, I'm going to note that he's an undergraduate and he's a TA in this class, which means that's going to separate him from the other students in the class in certain ways. So I don't think that Mark has, like, the best friend circle.
No.
You know what I mean?
Obviously not.
Yeah. So I feel like there's a lot of reasons that I think Charlie's the choice here.
Mm-hmm.
Ready to learn to feed? Charlie will teach you. Casse bon, it's been a while since I painted the town red.
That's not how you pronounce that.
I wouldn't know. It's not German.
No.
Or English.
Right, but Eartha Kitt sings the song C'est bon. So that C with a little S thing on it is not a hard C.
Hopefully he wasn't too literal. Charlie smiled, his fangs peeked behind his top lip.
Oh.
Mickelson rubbed his forehead with obvious annoyance.
Yeah, you probably should not be having him teach you how to feed then, with all that obvious annoyance, right?
Uh-huh.
I mean, he's Creole, so the difference is expected. I don't know.
Young people don't say that anymore. Maybe I should teach him.
Ooh.
Drama!
We're going to a 1920s team fraternity party. Mickelson, you'd stick out like a sore thumb there. No one wants to see their teacher when they get drunk.
It's true.
The crowds will be perfect for Mark's lesson. Get ready.
Also, I do hear people say paint the town red.
Oh, yeah. Me too. I mean, yeah.
I said it 10 years ago when I was 20.
Yeah.
20.
Also, I do think it'd be a little more suspicious as Mark's hanging out with his professor
at a frat party.
Yeah,
that would be really sus.
Yeah.
This is way less, and it's 1920s themed, so yeah. Mark was nervous. His first human blood was from Professor Mickelson's donor. He had awoken as a new vampire, and bloodlust clouded his judgment. Since he had fed earlier, he should be able to control himself.
Krellin says, maybe it's casse bon that people don't say. You know, Krellin.
But would he be able to feed from someone in public? It was risky. He could kill that person accidentally. What if he needed more time to adjust and the professor was wrong about him?
I would imagine you don't feed from them in public. Like, you go to the bathroom or something. Like,
or you, like, make out, nibble, nibble, and it's all fine.
Yeah. 10 gulps. That's it.
Building up courage, Mark thought of where Charlie would take him. It was to a place where people wouldn't be as cautious. Mark steadied himself. He could do this.
Yeah,
he wanted to go to that frat party anyway.
Yeah, you did. Also, I wonder if in this game...
I bet Jody would be there.
Ooh. If the people you drink from are drunk, if you get drunk.
Ooh.
That's a good question. I mean, there's a song line that says, paint the town red and paint his wife white. There's also... Papa Love Mama. Yeah, paint the town red in the celebratory sense, not in the High Plains Drifter sense. Yes. Oh.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, like a pro racer, Charlie's Navy sports car whizzed past freeway traffic. That frat party is not going to be here, right? Yeah, Charlie did imply he didn't want Mark to see his teacher drunk. Or no, because we're going to talk about frat parties for a second. Mark held on tight to the handles on the car's roof as it exited
The oh
25.
shit handle.
Yeah, 25 miles an hour above the speed limit. The car jumped a curb and a semi-truck honked its horn. Hello, Charlie. After whipping down a neighborhood street, Charlie suddenly turned the car 90 degrees. Whoa! Charlie squeezed in between two clunkers behind the Sigma house. I'm going to note something. This is not the place where frat houses tend to be. They tend to be...
Oh, unless it's one of those weird places where you got like some high class things, and then like the old houses across the street where we can't see our viewpoint. We're standing from the frat party's house.
Yeah. He stomped on the brakes and Mark lurched forward as Charlie leapt only inches before the car in front of him. He knows how to parallel park, is what we... Charlie drives like he learned to do so in Mumbai. We probably did. Mark staggered out of the car and held his head between his knees. Nausea bubbled up and he thought he was about to hurl. He spent the last 3 days in a sick room and didn't want to return there. Mark glared at Charlie, who shrugged. Charlie was a health hazard. I mean, he's semi-immortal. Charlie pocketed his keys in his inner vest pocket before he bounded up the concrete steps of the Sigma Chi Gamma frat house. 2 quick knocks on the door. Charlie grinned as a tall ebony frat brother peeked behind a small crack in the doorway.
Password.
Questions. Moonshine.
More questions.
Come on in, Charlie.
More questions.
Charlie hangs out with the young hip crowds.
Vampires still get nausea in this lore, right? The most terrifying car ride in my life was in a cab in New Orleans. Our destination was 15 minutes away. We got there in 5. Ooh, I had a pretty terrifying car ride in Rome. Yes, also parts of South Korea. This one is you.
Okay. The frat brother gave a bright smile and waved both vampires in with a pat on Charlie's back.
Is this...
Mark and Charlie walked past a game of beer pong and some freshmen dancing to techno music laced with songs by 1930s crooners.
Okay.
Mark held his breath. Students reeked of cheap beer and Mark could smell it off of them 10 paces away.
You know, I'm not a vampire and I can also do that. Just noting it.
Mm-hmm. The frat brother danced over to where they stood.
Mark, when did you meet Charlie? Great outfit, bro.
Mark looked down at Charlie's dress shoes. Somebody would step on his shiny shoes, splash them with beer or worse. Cringing, he thought he'd hate to be the one who ruined a vampire's night.
Maybe vampires are more chill than that, Mark.
Maybe...
I met him a few days ago.
He has all the time in the world and pairs of shoes and money. He can just get them cleaned professionally.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel like you might be like really uptight if you're a vampire, or just not at all uptight. You know what I mean? Because you're like, things come and go.
He watched the guy to make sure he wasn't giving him any weird looks. The engineering student seemed too plastered to notice any change in Mark. Hopefully no one would notice.
Yeah, they're probably not going to notice because they're drunk and the lighting's poor.
Also, the first part about being a vampire is don't play it weird, Mark. Yeah, play human. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how good you were at playing human before, but you know.
He is the coolest grad student ever. This guy gets any girl he wants. He can't get away from them. It's his accent. Hey, where are you from again?
Axe says his other shoes are made from the last person to step on his pair of loafers.
Could be.
I lived a long time in Louisiana.
You could just say that for me.
And that's how I can tell he doesn't have a Louisiana accent.
Because he pronounced it wrong?
Yes, it's Louisiana.
That's like Norfolk, right? That's the other one?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, it's great running into you guys.
Or people who
I'll
say
see
New
you
Orleans.
around the party.
His frat brother. He's gonna die.
I thought you couldn't go outside much.
He can go outside all he wants.
I still go with a young gator.
Charlie opened a cabinet, reached deeply inside, and helped himself to some red wine.
Hey, I have a thought.
Mm-hmm.
Do you imagine that vampires work in cycles? What I mean is, like, let's say you look 23, 24, 25.
Mm-hmm.
You go hang out in frat parties, right, like as a grad student or whatever, for probably like 10 years-ish?
Yeah.
And then you probably have to, like, stop for a while, right? Until, like, that cycle of people all cycle out, and then you can start hanging out again.
Probably. Or at least move countries.
Oh yeah, that too. I imagine just like go from
I
one place to the
mentioned
next, right?
you have to be more cautious about it now that international travel is much more easy, but like back in the day, you
Oh.
just move countries and no one would have a clue.
Or
Yeah.
just states even, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I will say that as long as you don't hang out with professors, you could probably still hang it like because there's such turnover in universities, right? That people just undergrads change every 4 years. So you probably could like hang out there for a while, like, you know, about 4 or 5 years. And then you'd have to like stay away for like maybe 10, you could probably go back. And people wouldn't remember you, you know what I mean? Like you'd just be like yet another new person. As long as you have to watch out
I'd
for,
wait
like,
20.
Yeah.
So
20.
that none of the professors or staff faculty will be like, oh, you look like this kid. Change your name, whatever, blah.
Yeah. I imagine you have to watch out nowadays for cell phones.
Yeah.
If you actually show up on cell phones.
I'd imagine you would, because the only reason vampires didn't used to show up in pictures is because you used silver in the processing. Which is why modern mirrors aren't an issue for vampires.
Depending on lore. But I do like the
though.
silver myself, right? Which does mean that the vampires wouldn't show up on old film.
Old mirrors or old film. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's where it came from.
Yep.
Like, modern ones don't make sense to me. Like, unless it's Vampire the Masquerade and you have a feat that lets you specifically not show up on camera in film.
I think it's actually a drawback.
No, it's an ability too.
Oh,
At least in 5th edition.
What I'm thinking is that La Sombra have a clan drawback that says they do not show up well. Yeah, and Artie is like, yeah, you just like have a rotation of different areas. And Annika is like, yeah, from Fayetteville, right? As opposed to...
Fayetteville.
Oh, that's like Louisville, right? That's another one. Louisville?
What? Can I enjoy some wine? I keep a stash of it here.
Which means it's probably blood.
Yeah. Suddenly, some cute college girls caught Charlie's eye. He threw his arm around Mark's shoulders and continued in a softer voice.
Ah, there we go. When we meet La Dame, flirt with them. After they're comfortable, lead one to a quieter place. Kiss your mark when you're ready. Yeah, that's what we do.
I feel like this would be very difficult if you have no game at all, right?
If you're Mark. You just say it.
I was trying to be polite, you know? One of the levels to obfuscate hide you from electronic surveillance. No, it's Crown, which is true. And also, hey.
But won't she remember being bitten? Or worse, that you're a vamp?
Don't tell her.
Careful. Don't use that word in public. You never know when a hunter's around.
You didn't tell him about the hunters. I actually got credited last time I was in Louisville. They pronounced it Louisville. Louisville.
You gotta be joking. Seriously?
No one wants to meet a hunter. They've no
So now we
pity.
know that vampire hunters exist as well as enforcers.
That homeless guy, I think he was a hunter.
Ooh, you
Yeah.
know what? I think so too.
Yeah, that's what I think.
He was looking at Mark like, oh no, you're actually not a vampire. Yet.
Or giving blood to vampires, right? Because like he looked for the risk to see if there was like a, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like the old joke we say around here, how do you pronounce the capital of Kentucky? Louisville, Louisville, or Louisville? Louis. I'm not saying that's how you pronounce it. I'm just thinking about the difference between Louis and Louis. Because I know some people say Louis Armstrong, some people say Louis Armstrong. Neither you pronounce it Frankfurt. That's good.
So about the girl. No, she won't remember. If you're scared, it might take her longer to forget.
Lindy was right.
The bites heal quickly. She'll only see 2 bruises and probably think they're love bites. Donors love being bit.
He gave a dark chuckle and Mark gulped.
Mark, you felt it. You're fine.
But I was able to remember it.
It's because it was super traumatic.
Mickelson also gave you a little blood, he said.
Yeah.
You're not going to give these girls blood.
You can't forget transforming. That's life-changing. Donors are another story. The society approves them.
You were forgetting
so our
it, Mark.
relationship is less secretive. Bite a target too often and they remember. That's how donors are made.
So don't go steady unless you want a donor, basically.
Basically, yeah. That makes sense. Going steady.
Do we drink from one another? Has anyone done that before?
It's a whole thing in Vampire the Masquerade.
Only form a blood bond with your progenitor.
Oh, interesting.
A piece of the other one's feelings always remains with you. Only a psycho wants to do that.
What?
You taste horrible. And then there's the sorrow that first time. Remember?
Okay, hold on though.
So apparently, whoever you make a blood bond with, you get like all the feeling stuff, and only a psycho wants all
Wow.
that feelings all the time.
Why would
from
only
everybody.
a psycho want to understand other people's feelings?
Feel them constantly
I don't know.
within vicinity. I would
no, the 10
agree.
paces. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair.
More than 10 paces, but yes.
Speaking of which, that's interesting. Interesting. Feeling interest. Yeah. I think about that.
The price isn't worth it. But there's someone who does bite others.
Although, I imagine if you're some kind of like spy type, right? Then you might want to know everybody's feelings. But then they would know your feelings. No. What?
Mark's eyes widened. Who'd want to experience that twice?
Spies.
Charlie's face was grim as he answered the unspoken question.
I do like that particular sprite look right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's whoever the artist is does a really good job of perspective, like the
Mhm.
angles.
Your professor.
Okay, so I'm also thinking.
I bet you he wouldn't have learned this if he
Yeah.
had gone out with his professor.
Yeah, I bet he wouldn't have learned it. Also, I'm gonna side note.
Also, I bet everyone would have been way less cool.
Yeah, way less cool. Also, I just want to say for the record, I kind of feel like if you can always feel the feelings of the other person and there's some kind of like a thing going on, like if I were part of a vampire council, there'd be some people who'd be like, you're not allowed to make vampires. You are a little bit too unstable. Like I feel like you wouldn't want certain people making vampires in that case, right? Maybe Steve does it because it helps him forget the loss of his family, or he really enjoys feeling loss. I don't know. Axe says, I suppose the psycho comment is similar to personality fragmentation. From certain sci-fi tropes.
Mhm.
Or if you dip into a wide variety of a person's bodies, personalities, minds, you get overwhelmed with permanent imprints of famous people. That would make sense, Axe. Right? That you have a hard time, then you would start like having a hard time distinguishing.
Forgive me. Yours, Tyro. That's between you two.
Yeah, but I bet he wouldn't tell you. Like, I feel like
I
sometimes.
bet you yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I just keep thinking about that moment. He's like, yeah, I'm going to pick him up because I made him. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay. What's up?
All right, Mickelson. All right, Steve.
Now, let's find some ladies.
It's interesting because it says you only have you have that blood bond only between progenitor and like Tyro, except for the professor who's done it with other vampires. Like, who are these other vampires?
Mm-hmm.
How many Tyros has he had before?
Charlie strutted into the crowd.
Okay.
Ooh.
Oh no. Okay.
Ooh.
So I'm gonna note that this is gonna be basically our last choice before we're gonna go.
I don't think it's the bottom one.
Mark feels me to say, yeah, no, I don't think so either. I don't think Mark does not feel like he's full of a lot of regret right now.
No.
Krellin says, I bet he wouldn't bring it up, but he would answer if asked about it. I agree with you, Krellin. I think he wouldn't bring it up, but if he were asked
I
about
don't know.
it.
He might change the topic. If it's something like he does
Oh.
that's frowned upon, he might not want to talk about it at all.
So Mark still admires the professor. Mark doubts the professor. Okay, here's some of my thoughts, and then I want to hear some of yours. 1. My first thought is, I don't know what this game means by Mark doubts the professor. Right? Like, Mark still admires the professor, Mark doubts the professor, don't necessarily feel like opposites to me. I feel like you can still admire someone, but have doubts about the things they do, right? So, like, I don't necessarily know what the doubt means. There's a difference between, like, I can not doubt that you wouldn't help me out, whilst doubting that perhaps maybe you make some poor choices. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what the doubt refers to there. That's a question that I have.
Yeah.
Oh, Krellin says doubt. You laid the foundation by picking Charlie already. Ooh. Axe also says doubt.
Ooh.
Ooh. Ooh. I will note that the professor has been sort of weirdly violent and a little bit erratic. Possessive.
Yeah.
A little.
I don't know if it's enough to make Mark doubt yet.
Yeah, it's tricky because I do think that Mark still. Okay, here's the other thing I will say, and this is like a weird thing to note, but I don't know if Mark understands.
enough about it to have that create doubt. That's what
Yeah.
I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I think he'd be like, "What's up with this, professor?" Rather than like,
Yeah.
"Oh, my professor's super sketchy."
Yeah.
Like, I feel like he had, like, the reasons he chose Charlie to teach him wasn't because he was like worried about his professor. It was more because he didn't want to like mess up in front of his professor.
Yeah.
So I think he would still admire the professor a bit.
Yeah. Axis, I'm feeling the doubt option because 1, drama, and 2, the professor broke a lot of rules. Excessive drinking during the turning ritual, possessive favoritism, and has repeatedly hidden a great deal of information. Ooh. So, okay. So I'm gonna say, and Lindy, tell me what you think. Here's the one thing. What's up with this is doubt, though. See, that's the thing, right? Like, I just don't know whether. Here's my concern, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Mark understands enough about vampire culture to pick up the red flags.
What? I'm sorry, he didn't pick up vampires when he was standing in a room full of them until like 45 minutes had gone by.
And also, if
anything, he's probably more curious than like,
Yeah.
ooh, are these red
Yeah.
flags?
yeah,
I think he's really like red flag colorblind, honestly.
yeah, yeah,
And he
is
is
pretty red flag color.
kind of obsessed with the professor still.
Yes.
He didn't. I feel like his obsession with the professor is part of why he didn't pick the professor for this training.
Right. Okay, so here's the other thing I'm thinking about. And this touches on something that Krellin said is, what's up with that is doubt, though? Question mark. I kind of feel like, let's say both of those feelings exist, right? That he still admires the professor.
Mm-hmm.
Krellin's like, but those weren't vampire flags, those were absolutely normal flags. I kind of feel like you can still admire the professor. Like, maybe you feel like a little bit of lingering doubt, like, oh, like, what's up with that? Like, Krellin's like, is what's up with that doubt? And I feel like the word doubt in this choice feels like a much bigger word.
I feel too.
Yeah.
Like become skeptical.
Yes.
Is what that word is being used.
Yes. I feel like, because this often happens in video games, like I might say, oh, he might have like,
Because you can say what's up with that in a
Yeah.
curious way, or you could say it in a doubting, skeptical, like
And I no
what's
longer
up with
trust
that
you.
versus, hey, what's up
Yeah.
with this? Like
Yeah.
what's going on?
what I would say
Because
is,
I
yeah,
would want to know rather
Yeah.
than like I'm skeptical of you, so I need you to tell me. It's more of like I'm curious. Could you explain what's happening?
yeah, and we're gonna say. Also, I don't. So I think sometimes when the game says you doubt somebody, what they mean is you no longer trust them,
Yes.
and I don't think
You
that.
start to not trust. Yeah.
Yeah, and I
I
don't.
don't think he distrusts the professor.
I agree
yeah.
with you. I agree with you. I don't think that he distrusts the professor. I think there's a lot more going on that's like deeper and a little bit sketchier, but I don't think that Mark.
And it's well established that Mark is not picking up on what is being laid down at this moment in time.
Yeah, and I think that and I think there's certain implications that I just don't think he understands yet. Yet, and I also still think he trusts the professor, and I feel like Mark doubts is too much. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Was Charlie's admiration more from respect or fear? Professor Mickelson must have gone through a lot and maybe even lost some friends along the way. It sounded like a lonely job. Vampires tasted awful, but Mark knew if he'd protect others, he'd make the same choices as Professor Mickelson, for better or for worse.
Oh, I also do want to point out that Professor Mickelson did save his life from that vampire attack.
That is true.
Right?
Yes.
So I do feel like there's like a, if I will say this, I don't know where you're at, but if things develop later, I could see Mark coming to doubt and becoming skeptical of the professor.
Yes.
I just don't think we're here now. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like it's a little bit too early. That's all.
The fraternity brothers set up a block of ice and took turns pressing their mouths against the cold block, sucking down shots poured from the top. There were 3 kegs of beer and plenty of vodka. That was what a fraternity party was about. Plenty of booze, women, and crazy fun. Wooden plank floors wobbled with every step the partiers took, but they didn't mind. They jumped and screamed, not caring if the floor broke. Fixed floor! Mark joined them and was lost in the music and the dancing. Mark, you're supposed to drink. A scent of gardenias wafted to him. Mark turned to a gamma beta gamma. sorority girl with bright red hair wearing a flapper headband and a gold flapper dress. The thirst pulled at him.
Hey, why don't we just look at our stats, huh?
Ooh! Yeah, you bloodlusty, Mark?
No. No.
No.
Okay. Okay.
No.
we're-
Okay.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Alright.
Okay.
Good to know. Good to know.
Good to know. Good to know. Good to know. Because
Just closing his eyes, Mark imagined his teeth biting into flesh. He became thirsty. He felt guilty for a moment. He told himself it was raw need, not desire.
Oh, interesting. He's gonna feel a bit guilty about like biting people who are not Jody, maybe.
He took advantage of the moment and he started to dance with her. He whispered in her ear, flirted, and tried to steal a kiss. She giggled and pushed him away. Maybe this woman was just a good girl? Too bad.
Hey, kissing someone does not make you a bad girl. Come on now, game.
Before he could tease her, her roommate called her away.
Oh well.
Get more game, Mark. Charlie returned with his arms wrapped around two girls. Mark couldn't help staring at the gorgeous ladies. Mark wasn't as lucky.
Yeah, Mark, we kind of picked that up.
Charlie coaxed the woman with him towards Mark.
Rachel, this is my good friend Marco I was telling you about.
I'm gonna note that it's not a 1920s outfit.
No.
Hi. I hear you're graduating soon with 2 majors.
That's why he's
Wow,
taking
you
longer.
must be pretty smart. Can you speak in French to me? I want to learn a few new words.
Good thing Jody's not here.
Naturellement.
Mark answered with a sly smirk. She giggled and Charlie unwrapped his arm from her. Things were looking up. Wingman Charlie right here.
Wingman Charlie.
Why don't you and Rachel talk for a bit? I'm going for a drink. You both should too. Come along, Christine.
I wonder what powers vampires have in this game.
Did he just wink at them? He led the blonde towards the edge of Sigma's backyard. Rachel took the opportunity and whispered in Mark's ear. Mark guided her to a dark corner of the room while he teased and laughed.
I wonder if she knows. No, that would.
I don't know. Maybe.
Oh.
Drink the blood!
Wait. You're just gonna go with the drinking of the blood right now?
Yeah, this is what he came here to learn to do.
Yeah, but do you think he's bold enough to do it?
Wingman Charlie, come on.
Do you think so? Right? Wait, where are we? Hold
He
on.
he wanted to drink that redhead earlier. You know what I'm saying?
He did.
And then her roommate pulled her away. He was gonna do it. He was gonna do it.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
He came here to learn how to do this, so he can do it more confidently in the future.
Okay. Right now.
They went to a dark corner? Yeah.
Okay, what's a dark
Drink,
corner?
drink.
Okay.
He wanted to prove to Charlie that he was ready, that he could feed as any vampire. Mark kissed her sweetly.
I'm concerned. But Mark does make choices.
She flinched away. Damn.
Your mouth feels like ice. Have you been drinking ice shots?
Yes.
Yes. He nodded. Sweeping her into his arms, Mark kissed her harder. She didn't seem to mind. It was just kissing. She kissed back and slid her tongue in Mark's mouth, pulling him down towards her.
Ooh, it's getting hot and heavy.
Mark slightly pulled away and started to kiss the corner of her mouth, then down her neck. She giggled as his kisses went down to her shoulders. He kept his body against hers.
Critchwitch says, you learn so much about streamers sometimes.
Yeah. I noticed she's wearing a choker, but I don't
She
think
is.
it's going to protect her neck very
No, I
much.
don't
The
think so.
DJ's music was loud. It was dark, and they were hidden. Mark drew in a shaky breath of the scent of her skin. He listened to her wet heartbeat thrum with quick, tight beats. He took a chance.
Okay, everybody.
I didn't sound like an apple.
It did sound like an apple. Okay.
Mark, that's bone.
Yeah.
You went too far.
Yeah, you went too far. You went too far.
His teeth sank into her soft skin. She gasped, and he felt her chest rise beneath him. Her heartbeat pounded faster. An amazing feeling. He felt her joy, her excitement. The rush of power of another was exhilarating.
This is the thing I'm worried about with Mark.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, oh yeah.
Also, I wonder if maybe. Okay, I think all the choices we've made so far are super Mark choices. But as a player, I think maybe his mentor should be there because maybe he's got. But I don't know. I don't know if his mentor will be a good influence or bad influence. I can't say.
With a lazy smile, Rachel relaxed in his arms. Mark counted the seconds as he sucked at her neck. He felt energized, stopped drinking, and pulled away.
Good for you.
See? He wasn't sure if it was because he just drank her blood or if it was the rush from the kiss.
You're a biter, just like Charlie.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. She gasped and covered her mouth.
Did you not clean your mouth?
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that.
Oh,
Yeah.
she was hoping
Look, it's cool.
it's cool. I feel like that would have made it awkward for Mark.
Yeah, Mark is kind of awkward, huh?
Like, he did it. He did the thing.
Yeah.
He's not hungry anymore. And she mentioned, like, oh, you're a biter just like Charlie. He's like, oh, maybe
Yeah.
that's awkward.
Yeah.
Or he could kiss her again, but that seems a little bold still.
Yeah, that does seem, and also maybe unhealthy, right? Yeah. It's awkward.
It's awkward.
Yeah,
A little
okay,
awkward now.
so
Like,
here's-
it was fine,
Yeah.
and then it got a little awkward when
Yeah.
she mentioned Charlie. Like, he was a great wingman, but,
Yeah. My one problem here is that I feel good about that first statement, but not the second one. I feel good about that is awkward. I feel like that he would totally say that.
Yes.
But maybe I shouldn't be doing this. I don't think he would feel bad about draining somebody. Well, drinking from somebody's blood, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's just hope.
But I don't think he's smooth enough to do the...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that is awkward. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this.
From the opposite corner of the room, someone took a large, high-heeled step towards them.
Let's see if it's Jody. Yep.
What the hell do you think you're doing?
Yep.
Oh.
Yep. Somebody in chat called it. Yep. Lysander says maybe she's another monster in disguise, like a bug lady with a chitinous shell that just looks like human skin. Yeah.
Jody? I thought you were going home spring break.
Yep, and that's not a thing to say when you just got caught. Oh.
Oh,
Hey.
buddy.
Although, there was a lot of conversations you did not have with Jody about exclusivity or, whatever.
I think I'll go. Nice knowing you.
Bye, Rachel.
Yeah, bye.
I don't need to tell you where I am all of the time. Good thing I didn't.
I'm sorry, Jody.
Awkward.
If you didn't plan to have me as your girlfriend, you should have never led me on. Jerk!
Hey, girl, I can kiss you too.
Valtiel says, what if this incident puts Jody on a path where she becomes a vampire hunter and slays Mark? Ooh.
Oh, that'd be exciting.
Yeah.
I'd vote for Jody. I'd be like, go, Jody. Go, Jody.
Ani says, I mean, she didn't say yes or no that they were together. It's true. It's true.
And he also asked if she wanted to do it again, and she was like,
maybe. I don't, yeah. Would she have seen him if he had decided to keep going? Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. Ooh.
oh.
Ooh.
Or if he decided not to drink her.
Yeah, I don't know. All I know is that I kind of feel like, I don't know, I've got some questions. Oh.
Splash of cold beer hit Mark's face as Jody stomped away. Mark's heart clenched. You're non-beating
Even I
heart.
know better than to feed in front of my woman. It would have never worked, friend. You're a vampire. She isn't. Let's go.
Charlie was watching.
Yeah,
Charlie
yeah.
was like, oh, good lad, you learned how to eat. But
Yeah.
maybe not in front of the girl you're into.
Yeah. Jody, the vampire slayer. Lysander says, I'm surprised she's that into him given what happened during the date. I just feel like there's maybe I feel like she was not particularly clear about what was going on in their relationship.
Also, we were told that was possibly the worst Mark date that they've ever seen.
Nice.
So, do you want to go to a concert? Grapes and Wrath are playing tonight. They rock.
But this is where we're saving and ending our stream. Because
That's a good point. That's
right,
a good stopping
point.
point.
That's a good point to pause it. Pause it. All right, let's go here. Save. Back, and then we want.
Look, she wasn't acting like she was way more into him.
But
He only acted like that now.
She was very. She also was like.
She was very non-committal.
She was very.
She
non-committal.
shrugged.
She did.
She's like, "Do you
shrug.
want to do this again?" She was like,
Just saying. She totally was. That's all I'm saying. We're in chat right now. And also she. If she were really into him, she could have maybe asked him out once in those 4 years. Just saying.
right.
Speichern nicht Pause. Did Charlie manipulate that decision happen in the first place? Well, that's a good question. So, Lindy.
Yes.
Give me your thoughts of where we're at right now.
Oh boy. I think that our good Mark just marked a lot of stuff up today.
Yeah.
We learned that he's very bad at insight.
Yes.
Passive perception.
Yes. Krill's like, she's a flirty Catholic girl. That's flirty for religiously conservative. That's probably fair. License, but Mark is like one of the decoy marriage prospects from a Jane Austen book. So Rissa asks if part 3 is next Thursday. Well, the problem is that next Thursday is Gen Con, and I am pretty sure that I have to do some remote producing for them. So I don't think we can. I don't think I'll be. I think my streaming is not going to be very heavy next Thursday at all. We're going to have Hexam Moors on Wednesday.
Yes. And then Thursday's up in the air. We don't know about Thursday yet.
Yeah, we don't know, and I don't think there'll be a stream on Friday because of Gen Con. But we'll be back up.
We won't know until you get your Gen Con schedule.
Yeah, I'm waiting for my Gen Con schedule. Yes. Wisdom, all those things. Yes. Well, I do think you're correct. I think that he does not have very good wisdom. I don't think that Mark has very good wisdom.
Dumpstat wisdom.
Yeah, I don't think he has very good wisdom. Yeah. He's also 23, so...
Look, 23... Like, I'm just saying I had a lot more life accomplishments by the time I was 23.
That's true. That's true.
But I guess I have a higher wisdom.
Yes. You did not dump step wisdom.
Hey,
Owen. No. So...
Mark is a dumpstat.
Oh, Mark. Look, I actually think that Mark has grown. I actually think we had some really good progress with Mark this time around. I think that he's adjusting. I feel like you don't learn languages easily. No, I think he's got a high int but low wisdom.
High int and low everything else.
Yeah, that's what I think. But I do think that he is. I think that
maybe
he's
average dex.
Maybe average dex.
And then that's it. High int, average dex, dumpstat, everything else.
His dex might be slightly higher than average. He took judo for a long time.
Which is why I'm not giving him dumpstat dex.
Fair.
Giving him average dex.
Fair. 12?
Yeah. 12.
I think he's got a 17 int, perhaps.
Yeah.
D&D stats, 17 int.
Mm-hmm. Like, not quite to a +4, but he's getting there.
You know what? I would give him higher dex than I would strength. Pre-vampire.
Yeah, that's why his strength is 10. And then same with con. And then his wisdom and charisma are like 8.
See, okay, but look.
Wisdom might be a 6. I'm not gonna lie.
No, look, there's power creep in D&D 5e. I feel like his 17 int, I'm gonna have to go with like a dex 14.
Sure, we can give him a +2 dex.
Thank you.
And then 12 con, 10 strength, 8 charisma, 6 wisdom.
8 wisdom, 10 charisma.
Did you not remember how long he stood in that room full of vampires today? 6 wisdom.
How about here I'm negotiating 8 wisdom, but no skill points in perception or insight. Like none of that.
He doesn't. We're not even talking about skill points. We're just talking about base stats.
Do any of these stats change now that he's a baby vamp? That's a good question.
I think maybe his dex and strength and con got bumped up. Definitely con.
Oh,
definitely. He like lived forever.
Strength too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe he's like 17 inch. I don't think it made him any smarter.
I think that he got what does he call it? Trained. He got trained in perception. Right? Sort of because he could hear all the like. He clearly gets like a bonus to like hearing and seeing.
Yes.
Right. So standard array. Oh, here we go. If he's got a 17, he's got to pay for it somehow. So a 6 instead of the normal 8. Krellin is correct.
See?
Yeah.
See?
Krellin is correct. Standard array is like 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, 8. So yes. Give him that 17 in int, which makes his...
And he's got the 6 wisdom.
Yeah. 14 would be his...
Which basically means if he's proficient in it, and he is higher than level 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever, he would have a not negative perception stat or like perception check.
Yeah.
It's still not a positive.
Yeah. And then he wouldn't have
but
a good
it's not
insight.
negative finally, and he'd have a terrible insight.
Yeah, that's fair. But I'm going to go 14 for his dex.
Yeah.
13 for his...
Constitution.
Constitution, 10 strength. 12 strength, 10
charisma,
6
wisdom.
Yeah. I feel like he's got a 13 charisma because somehow everyone doesn't hate him despite being a dumbass. You know,
swap. We could swap strength and charisma.
Yeah, we could do
He
that.
could be. He could be a somehow he has charisma. They're all like Mark.
Yeah, he's just awkward, right? Like, yeah, how about this? He has charisma, but he has no proficiency in any of those charisma skills.
No proficiency.
Yeah.
He put it all into languages. He
Yes.
just picked all the language proficiencies.
Yes.
Yeah.
I will
He's
go
like,
with that.
I know I can pick a skill proficiency, but can it be a language?
And he
I want to
probably-
speak all of the languages, he said.
So wait, so does that mean he's a magic user? Is he a wizard?
Do you think he's a wizard? I think he's just like a terrible fighter.
Oh, like a non what's the word, non-optimized
Wizards
fighter?
don't know judo. I'm sorry. I'm just.
Is he a monk?
Yes. Oh no, he's a dumpstead wisdom monk. No wonder he plays like that.
Mark is a dumpstat wisdom monk. Oh nope, Crone says he's a suboptimal rogue.
I considered rogue for a
Yeah.
moment, but he's also not very sly. You know, he doesn't really. Yeah.
Be right back. Roll up a judo wizard, says Valtiel. Okay, so Lindy, where can we find you next? Talk to us.
Where can you find me next?
Yes.
Let's see. Like which games are on break? What's
Ooh.
happening? You can find me next on my channel, Laugh Love Lindy, on Monday evening for our new Mondays in Exandria, the New Batch campaign. We had episode 1 of the New Batch this past week. We all work at a coffee shop, Have a Nice Day, and I play a Warforged wizard. And it is very fun. We also have a goblin, Snaggletooth Blastcap, and a possibly OCD Dragonborn, and a very emo bard. So come check it out. It'll be entertaining. Someone got a pet mimic last week.
Nice.
It'll be great. And then on Tuesday,
Was it a pet rock, and then it turns out it was a mimic the entire time?
no, it was a book.
Oh.
It was a graphic novel, and it started eating a customer, and so we tamed
Awkward.
it. Yeah, it was only a little bit. The customer was fine. We gave him free coffee, made it all better. Yes, I did spend Mind Sliver because I wasn't gonna take Firebolt, and yeah, we're level 1. I didn't have a ton of spell options, and I wanted Mage Armor and Shield. So that's that. And on Tuesday evening, you can see me GMing a high-level mini campaign that'll last through this next month called Quest for the Heart, where my players are level 15. We have one highly intelligent wizard and a bunch of dumbasses. They will try to clear a dungeon that involves puzzles. It'll be very exciting. They journeyed on a boat with a spellbook smoking wizard and captain. It'll be entertaining, to say the least. And then next Wednesday, Trooper will be facilitating upon the Hexhamshire Moors again, where we have a trial to get to, and
we have a trial.
It's gonna be interesting. So that's where you can find me.
And also, kind of excitingly, the person who's on trial for murder, their player will not be there.
Nope.
Yeah. Rissa asked, do we have a start date for the for Kolos yet? I have just gotten all of my players to fill in their availability. No, that is not true. I'm still missing one player who has not yet filled in their availability.
I've had it filled in for months. I'm
on the
saying you
call
put that
sheet.
up and I filled it out.
Yes. So I need to get my last player to fill out their availability in the call sheet so I can figure out when our start date is going to be. And it looks like we're looking at the 26th of August as our probable start date, is what we're looking at. And but I have to get I've got to get our final player to fill in their
It's not
availability.
me. I'm not gonna call. I don't know who it is. I can easily find out because I have access to the sheet. I'm not gonna call anyone out, but I will say it's not me.
Yes, and me. What is today? Thursday. Tomorrow, Grimjack and I will be doing part 3 of Best of Intentions, Seasons of Death, Autumn, Night's Black Agent Solo Ops adventure, and I hope we will finish it on Friday because I don't think next Friday I can run because of Gen Con, although we'll see. Actually, there's something weird. There's one. I've got to check my Gen Con schedule. Waiting on. And then this Saturday will definitely be the Outer Worlds because I don't have the Outer Worlds this Saturday. And then of course next Wednesday will be the Hexhamshire Moors, and my schedule will be updated for once I get all the Gen Con stuff going on. Yeah, so that's what I'm gonna say. And we will definitely have a part 3 of Twice Reborn. We need to find out what's going to happen with Mark. Once Lindy is available, we will do that. Basically, when Lindy's available, we will find out what happens to Mark. Because she's available next Thursday, but I think I'm doing Gen Con stuff. I'm not going to Gen Con in person. I'm doing remote producing. But, I will be, like, modding and producing, that kind of thing. But, it's what we're going to do. That's it. Odious? Oh. You know what this means. We can't just leave.
No.
Not right now. Not after what Odious did.
Nope.
The name game. Come on, everybody. I said, now let's play a game. Hey, Lindy.
Yeah?
Can you do the name game?
No.
All right. But it's not that hard. I can tell you how to do it. Right? Because I bet you I can make a rhyme out of anybody's name. The first letter of the name, you treat it like it wasn't there. And then a B or an F or an M will appear. And then I say bow at a B, then you say the name, then banana, fanner, and foe. Then you say the name again with an F, very plain, then a fee, fi, and a mo. Then you say the name again with an M this time, and there isn't any name that I can't rhyme. Odious. Otis, Bobotis, Banana Fanta, Fofotis, Fifa, Memodius. Odious. The name game. I'm going to get you to sing it, Lindy.
I provide supportive dancing. That is
Fair.
the extent of my contract here.
It's fair. It's fair. Everyone, take care of yourselves. Thank you very much. And, we're going to go do a little bit of work. And we will catch you all on the flip side. Thank you for being here. Thank you for all the resubs. And y'all are awesome. Oh, yeah. Support our Patreon if you like. Join us on the Discord. Follow either one of us on the Twitters. And we will see you later. Bye.